barely hear you
Why is that?
because you don't talk like a Haitian dad.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to our podcast where we watch all of
Haitian
the Marvel
dad.
movies individually, and then we come together on a video chat like this to discuss it as a quarantine project. And so, my name is Rob, and with me are a few of my friends.
Rinaldi.
Elise.
And I'm Fergie.
In this episode, we talk about the infamous Iron Man 3.
Tony Stark has played a major role in saving the world with the Avengers. His role was the biggest of all. He flew a nuclear bomb into the spaceship where all the aliens that were invading New York were coming from, saving Earth. 6 months later, Tony deals with nightmares and sleepless nights dealing with this event and the fact that he personally witnessed this spaceship in space. He struggles to keep himself together and to maintain his relationships with his friends. And the worst timing of the world happens when the Mandarin continually attacks different locations in the United States, including Tony's bodyguard and friend, Happy Hogan. Tony decides to take the fight to the Mandarin. Problem is, the Mandarin has destroyed all his technology, forcing Tony to question whether is he the hero or is the suit, the Iron Man suit, the hero. That's what we find out in this movie.
We find out that and so much more. What reviews have you found? What are people saying about this movie?
Okay. I found something on vulture.com by David Edelstein. I believe that's how his name is pronounced. And I'll just read, I guess, here his last part of his article here. It says Iron Man 3 has an unusually high number of witty turns, from Pierce's clumping, disfigured geek turned insinuating smoothie to Don Cheadle's amusingly gung ho Colonel Rhodes, ever disheartened when he can't rocket around along Stark. I always enjoy seeing Dale Dickey, who was so stunning as the hillbilly matriarch in Winter's Bone, and the meth fiend who in Breaking Bad dropped an ATM machine on her boyfriend's head. The talented comic actor Adam Pally has an exuberant bit as a Stark groupie in a TV van. It's sort of inspired silliness a movie like this needs, and it also gives Downey a chance to prove what a brilliant straight man he can be. He uses his superstar sense of entitlement to generate a great, impatient slow burn. Finally, we come to the Mandarin of Ben Kingsley, whose beans I wouldn't dream of spilling. Every time I see Sir Ben, I think he's due for another of Her Majesty's honors. Lord High Executioner of Mischief, long live the Kingsley of comedy. So I kind of think, so it looks like he kind of likes it.
Dang.
It's interesting.
He had a lot to
But
say.
kind of,
Yeah.
Dang. I too found another review from a guy named David Asare from Google Reviews, and he said, a very conflicting movie for many MCU fans, but for me, this one is one of the biggest black sheep in the franchise. Again, Robert Downey Jr. delivers an amazing performance, and Gwyneth Paltrow also showcases her great acting ability. And yes, they could have done more with the Mandarin, however, Guy Pearce's Ulrich Killian is a great palate cleanser for that disappointment. All in all, this film establishes the vulnerability of Tony Stark without the suit and is entertaining from start to finish.
Okay. I'm going to do my best
He-
to hold back everything I feel about this movie. Thank you for sharing those reviews. What did you guys think watching this movie? What would you grade it?
Yo, don't hold back.
Letter
Oh no, no,
grades.
I won't. But for
Letter
now,
grades.
but for now, we're doing letter grades. Because we've been doing letter grades for all the movies. Where does this movie fall with all the other movies we've done? What letter grade would you give this one?
oh gosh. You know, my goodness, what letter grade? I thought that I liked this movie more back then, but now I'm kind of like, yo, you know, letter grade, letter grade. Ooh, you know, maybe I should just skip. I'm still trying to like calculate. I
Wow. Am
know
I?
that I have it in the C range, but I'm not really sure which.
Golly, the what?
It kind of, I mean, it's not terrible.
Why do
Something
people
was
say Marvel's brilliant? Marvel, the people that plan all these movies are great. They have a perfect plan. And most of these movies so far, we give it C's. But somehow Marvel is a
Hey,
brilliant company
I
that
gave
has a
out.
great product.
I gave out two. I think I gave out two A's so far, which were Iron Man 1 and Avengers. I gave A. There's a spectrum here. I'm not
Okay.
just
All right.
but this one I want to say actually, you know what? Let's let's say C plus. So like and to be exact, it's like a 79.5. So we're almost at B minus, but like it's still technically C plus. And I just I think what killed it for me, I mean, I guess something's got to happen while Tony's in Rose Hill, but like his dynamic with the kid was kind of corny to me. Like I mean, he was
Yeah,
cool, but it's kind of like
100%.
I just no,
I thought it was
like
funny.
you,
I thought it was
it just.
funny because he was rational on this kid just like he does everybody else. I don't like he
I
did the same thing
mean,
to Captain America and the Avengers, and Captain America's a cornball, so this kid's a
I mean,
cornball just like Cap. He's
Yeah,
joking
but
with him
he's
the
a
same
kid.
way.
it's cute, but like I didn't sign up to
Tony
watch
Stark is
that.
Tony Stark ain't no dad.
I'm
How
with
you
you,
gonna be a
Elise.
dad? That's only
Okay.
20 minutes of the movie. It's 20
Okay.
minutes. That's not
It
So
like
was
it's like an hour.
so okay. So Elise,
felt like it.
you give you say you give it like a very very generous C plus.
What?
Yeah, I gave it a real
That-
high C plus. Yeah.
Okay. No.
Um.
Rinaldi, that
Yeah.
is generous because I'm interested in what you would grade it because you seem to oppose her C plus. What would you give it?
Oh man. All right. So I think this is a fun, well-paced, for the most part, choreographed action movie with an actual arc for Tony Stark. Because the last Iron Man movie, we get more Black Widow than Tony Stark. This movie, we get Tony. We get his journey and him trying to deal with the fact that he doesn't have any suits. It has to be up to him because Cap was going at him in Avengers because he's like, you're just what are you without the suits? And so we get to see Tony deal with that in this movie, and I thought it was dope. And Rhodey was dope in the scenes that he was in. They have great chemistry. I like the end fight. Well, there's one part in the end fight I didn't like, but we'll get to that. But for the 90% of that fight, I liked. And Tony, Rob Downey Jr. was doing his thing. He was charismatic. He was funny. So I'm giving this Joker a B plus. Like, it's the
You give
best
it a
Iron
B
Man movie.
plus?
Yeah, it's the best
What?
Iron
The
Man
best
movie.
Iron Man movie better than Iron Man 1?
Yeah,
Wow.
he had more of a
Wow.
challenge
You're
because he didn't
hurting my
have any
feelings,
suits.
Now,
man. You're
He
hurting
now,
my
didn't.
now,
feelings.
He didn't have
now, right now.
suits. He's
I
Iron
see.
Man, and he didn't have Iron Man. He
I
was just
thought I came in
Tony.
prepared. You said better than Iron Man 1.
Yeah,
Yo.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Okay, all right. I know where you're going. I got counterpoints. I'm ready because I
I
know
know you
you're
have
gonna go. You're
counterpoints.
gonna go for that
I know
plot
you do.
twist. You're gonna go at the plot twist. I'm ready for
Well,
that.
are we going to go with that We'll see. We'll see. We're not even talking about
We'll
that yet.
see. We'll
Okay,
see. B
so you give
plus.
it
B plus.
you said B plus. Okay.
B plus. It's a light B plus. I kind of it gets in there. I'm like Elise, but with a B plus, but a low B plus. Because I gave Iron Man a B.
Yo, is someone dying in
I'm
your
in
apartment?
help.
We're keeping that on the podcast, by the way. We're keeping
Yeah.
that there.
Okay, so apparently
Is someone dying in your apartment?
someone died when I had mentioned that I gave Iron Man a B and this movie a
Yo,
B
even your
plus.
roommates
That's what
are like,
happened.
why would you? Oh man.
Anyway, go ahead, Fergie.
That
Go
timing
ahead,
too
Fergie.
was perfect.
Go ahead, Fergie.
So I watched this movie for the first time ever. I apparently had never seen it before. So coming in with fresh eyes, I give this movie a solid D plus.
Whoa!
It was crap.
What?
That's right, Ronaldo.
She stomped it in the
D
ground. A
plus.
D.
What?
Oh
And
my!
I took notes on this movie, and I'll
Ronaldo,
tell
are
you
you
why
fine?
it was
It's
bad.
okay.
No, my glasses.
My glasses. Oh wow!
I'll give you that it had good action. It had solid action. I'm with you on that. But this movie had, throughout the whole thing, I'm like, is this a Christmas movie? What am I watching? It was weird. I'm like, it has all the hallmarks of a Christmas movie. It
Right.
has holiday music. It has a neglected kid whose parents are nowhere to be found for some reason. There's ornaments. It was just weird. And Rob told me that this movie didn't even come out during Christmas
Come out in
time.
July.
That also doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it came out in May.
May,
no
whatever.
sense.
Yeah.
It's not December.
Not
No,
December.
not December. No.
Not even November. It was really predictable. A lot of cliches in it.
Predictable?
When I watched it, I'm like, okay, why did they switch directors? First of all, because
Yeah.
the first two were pretty good. This movie feels like the director read a fan fiction of like the worst possible like storyline, picked it and shot it. That is why I give it a D plus.
Whoa.
Wow.
I'm
I
surprised.
gotta educate
did not
y'all. I gotta
expect you
educate
to
y'all.
go
That's what it is.
that deep. Like
Nope.
she
It was
stomped it
not
in the
good.
ground. A D plus. Wow. That's the
Yeah.
lowest grade that's been awarded so far.
You know what it
My-
is? This is why people don't watch all these movies. They watch like the 6 big ones, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, Marvel has it all figured out," and they don't watch the little ones.
Yeah.
Fergie exposed the truth because this is her first time. She gave it a D
Yes.
plus.
Yeah. So unlike Fergie, this is probably my 4th time watching this or something. Unfortunately. And to watch Fergie watch this thing for the first time and to express a lot of the same sentiments I felt about the movie was an experience. Because sometimes when I watch this movie, I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm like, am I the only one that is seeing this movie? Are we watching the same movie? I also give this movie a D plus. Hard D plus.
Yo, what?
Hard D plus. And here's
That's what
okay.
Y'all haven't
Listen,
seen.
no. Hold on.
You're gonna
Hold
compare
on.
this to DC movies?
Oh no.
You're gonna compare
This
this to the
movie.
DC
No,
movie.
Okay, here's the thing with this movie, okay? Here's why I give it a D plus. I'm going to start with the positives. Okay? I'm going to start with the plus in the D plus.
I'm
the
surprised
fights
they're positive.
are the fights, the choreographed action scenes, those were actually really good for a movie like this.
Yep.
The part in the movie, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, but the part in the movie where he jumps out the plane to save everyone, that was clever. That was solid.
Fire.
The part in the movie where he's, he has all the Iron Man suits and he's going back and forth and he's doing all these tricks getting in and out of his suits. Those were clever. A lot of that stuff that happened in this movie, it was so good. Here's why I give it a D plus.
Let us know.
And I'm not going to expose all of it. I'm going to save some of it for later on for my real issue with the movie. But this movie does not feel like an Iron Man movie. It feels more like someone going back to being an Iron Man movie throughout the whole movie. It feels like, and maybe that's what the character is trying to because he loses his Iron Man suit early on and blah, 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 and whatever. But throughout the whole movie, it does not feel like a true Iron Man movie based on Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1. It feels like a response movie led by a director who has not led the last two. So the vision is very different. And so, we're going to talk about all the dirty stuff. We're going to talk
I
about all the
disagree.
dirty stuff. But I get this is some of the reason, out of many reasons, why I and your roommate gives it a D plus.
Yes, we'd even talk about this beforehand, Rob. High five. Look at that. We're on the same
Nah,
wavelength.
man.
There were
Nah.
certain things that like I knew was going to happen in the movie, and I knew you're going to react a certain way, and I'm like, I'm not going to say a word.
Nah,
I'm not going to say a word.
Y'all too negative for me.
Did we watch the same movie?
I did. I watched this movie. I've seen this movie 5 times.
This is not a movie I would watch if it came on TBS.
I agree.
This is not a movie I would watch.
Oh, bugging.
So, how does the movie start? Let's go with that. How does the movie kick off? You get some dialogue from Tony Stark. Okay.
Yeah, they're at a park. They're at a conference.
Some ominous story. They're at a conference. What year was it?
But before that,
1999.
1999.
Before that, there's the dialogue, like he's talking to someone, and then 1999.
Yeah. But so it starts in 1999.
Yeah.
They're at a conference, and did you guys notice that he runs into the guy? I forget his name, but the same guy he was trapped in the cave with.
Jensen.
In the first Iron Man movie.
Dr. Jensen.
Yep. And it reminded me of when like he said like, "Hey, Tony, you probably don't remember me from like many years ago from that conference."
Right.
And I'm like, there it is. That's
full
how.
circle.
And it turns out that Tony Stark doesn't remember much of anybody from that conference.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember the girl that he ends up sleeping with. He doesn't remember Killian. He doesn't remember anybody from that conference. Just remember Switzerland.
Well, that's the old Tony, remember? Because at the beginning of the first movie, he was all by himself. So we saw that in this scene.
Right.
From the moment we meet Killian and I see his face and his like doofiness, I'm like, I already know the rest of this movie. Like it's typical like nerdy guy who's really smart. We're gonna fast forward into the future. He's gonna be good looking and smart and wealthy because he's smart, and then he's gonna exact his revenge on Tony. I'm like, this movie's over. I don't need to watch anymore.
No, well, I agree that they over exaggerate, and that was. Here's the thing. I think this I like this story. I wish the guy that directed the first 2 is the bodyguard. He's the one that directed the first 2 movies.
Yep.
I wish we took this story and directed and had him just direct it. Because I actually like this story. I just think there's many scenes that weren't done subtly. But I like the ideas. I like the fact that Tony has to confront his past now that he's an Avenger. Because I feel like Cap was challenging him and he kind of didn't really like. I don't know. I'll put it better. I remember Rob, we were talking in private and he said, yeah, I feel like Tony's still in that cave. Like he's still in that cave. So I feel like this is like a movie where he has to confront the cave. I just kind of wish it was done more subtly because you're right, Fergie. He was way over the top. Like his glasses were 3 times thicker than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a bit ridiculous.
It was awful.
Yeah. I mean, so
but
I agree with you, Rinaldi. So that I'm glad you said that because it's like it's easy for me to miss. This is a good story. Like I can see how this can be a good story. I do think, and we'll talk about it later, but I do think that this misses the mark on a lot of things because this movie took the wrong risks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what happened. I think. I know you feel differently because you like this movie, but I think.
Well, I like Robert Downey Jr. Anything he's in as Tony is entertaining, so I roll with that. This brother is entertaining. He's funny. He's charismatic. He's emotional. He does action scenes. So that was my center for this entire movie. Just Rob Downey consistently being great. Anything he does, he kills it.
I think piggybacking off of Rob's and yours point, Rinaldi, too, I think you're right. I think the director was just the wrong choice. The storyline wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty easy to follow and it made sense. But if I could take away one thing, it would be the Christmas setting because I feel like it makes no sense. It doesn't really add much to the story.
Yeah.
And then like downplay some other parts, like the nerdiness in the beginning. But for the most part, it was a good story. I'll give you that.
Yeah. If same dude was directing this movie, he would not have done the Christmas because
Yeah, yeah.
the apparently Kevin Feige didn't want the Christmas stuff, and the director insisted to keep it.
Insisted for
So,
what? Like I
Right.
don't.
I have no
I'm not sure.
idea. I guess his argument was, oh well, I'm trying to make this like Die Hard, because you know how in that movie he's outgunned. Like in Die Hard, Bruce Willis is outgunned and outmanned, and he has to like be clever to like stop. So it's like the same kind of theme, but it still doesn't explain the. You could have did that without the Christmas stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, choose
like
another
action
holiday.
heroes. I like action
Yeah.
heroes that have to figure something out with their mind because they're outgunned. Because I love Die Hard, but
Yeah.
Die Hard works because of Bruce Willis being funny and charismatic and having to fight his way barefoot. So that was cool for
So then this
Tony to
whole movie
do.
is, I was gonna say, this whole movie is Die Hard fan fiction. Then
Yeah,
Huh.
you could say that. You could say because that director kept talking about Die Hard in different interviews as an inspiration for this Iron Man 3 movie. So I don't know. Maybe he wants to
Yeah.
get a selfie with Robert Downey Jr. and Bruce Willis. That's his
Or maybe
dream.
he always wanted to direct Die Hard, and this was his opportunity.
This
dang,
was his way to get.
Yeah,
Oh, dag.
that's
Why
dang,
he had to take that out on us though? God.
right.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Can we just talk about can we talk about the villain real quick? And without like
Killian.
yeah,
He is the Mandarin.
so let's talk
He
about
said
that.
it.
I'm going to
He
just
said he's the
backtrack
Mandarin.
just a little bit. Huh?
That's what he said. He said, Tony, it's always been me. All these
Yeah.
years. I am the Mandarin.
Yeah. That don't get me
And
started.
then
I have a lot to
oh
say about
god.
that, but I'm going to
Sorry.
save it for our R&R session
All right, we'll
section
go
of this
back. We'll take it back.
but no, let's talk about the villain. Um before we even get into the reveal, before we even get into all that, Tony Stark is Tony Stark, along with the world and America, really, is getting these news feeds from the Mandarin.
Mhm.
Okay, and these news feeds are connecting, and all the news and everything involving surrounding the Mandarin is connecting with the people that Tony's interacting with, which ends up, being why he calls out the Mandarin on the cell phone. I remember seeing that clip or that scene in the theater and going, "Why did he just give away his home address?"
Uh,
Really?
he
Yeah,
hasn't been getting sleep. And
like,
I feel
his
like that was
friend
his whole
almost
move.
died. And he has
but this is the
PTSD.
Mandarin blowing up like towns and cities and everything, supposedly, right? Like, so why would you give away your home address and then when you're at home doing research, you ask for a complete lockdown?
He's Tony
Again,
Stark.
the
I feel like
man
that's
got
just an expected
PTSD. He
move.
hasn't slept, and he's arrogant. That's a bad
Yeah,
combination.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you, Rinaldi. I think that's also just Tony Stark being Tony Stark.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
He, like
he's just
showboat.
That's
arrogant.
true.
He's arrogant, and brother, man, get some sleep. Golly,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And
a
it's
good
not like he
night's
doesn't have
rest.
protection either.
that's true. He got happy.
But he was disorganized though, because he had to cancel the lockdown because his one night stand showed up, and he was a hot mess. I do agree with that, Rob. It's like you do that thing, and then you're having basically a domestic dispute. Jerry
Hmm.
Springer.
Yikes.
uh,
Yikes.
what would have happened,
Yeah,
guys, if there was a 14-year-old kid in the car? What would you have done if they
If
went that
what would
way?
happen if there was what?
How would you have reacted if there was a 14, like him sleeping with her was resulting in a kid in the car? Like there actually was a kid.
If there actually was a kid in the car?
Yeah, like he's the father of a child. Like he fathered a child in 1999.
Oh, you
It's
mean like the joke that he said, like, don't tell
yeah,
me
if
that
it
there's a
was
kid in the car. Yeah,
yeah,
I
if it
got
was
you.
real.
I mean, I thought that was like, I thought that was hilarious. It's a Tony Stark move to like make
Yeah,
a joke like that. And the fact, again, he doesn't remember her, the
yeah.
woman. What's her name? Maya.
Maya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by Hanson.
Yeah. How did y'all feel about Maya?
Okay. So from the second she strolled up into his house talking about I need to talk to Tony, I'm like, who are you? Why are you here so quick like that? She's up to no good. And I was like, Tony, don't fall for it. Don't even go anywhere with her. Don't go to the second location because there is no third.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Honestly, I'm trying to think. I feel like they could have done the movie without her. Truth be told,
Yeah.
they could have found another way for him to kind of get hip, especially because Pepper had the interaction with Killian. So like maybe they could have like if she kind of was thinking about his proposal a little bit more, then maybe she would have thought something was iffy and then came back to Tony and be like, "Yo, this is not right," or something. You know what I mean? Like I think they could have invented another way instead of using Maya because they kind of she showed up for a little bit and she just like died, and it was like, oh, well, I guess that's what you get. That you don't have a bigger role than that, huh? Like you don't get
Yeah.
that much screen time. So she was.
It's
I'm
so
not really
interesting
sure.
because this movie has her in it, and it's almost like the movie reacted to having her in it by having Killian shoot her. Like, you know what? We
Yeah.
realize that you're useless. Let me bow. Let me kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only role she had is that her plant genetic technology was what Killian used to
The
to get his
regeneration.
powers.
Right.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
she could have just been in the flashback. Actually, well, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that later. What we could have did differently, but
Right.
I'm with you guys
Exactly.
on her. She could have just been in
Yeah.
the flashback, and then Killian
Mhm.
could have scooped that technology up and then keep it moving. You
Right.
don't need her to
She
show
didn't
up in the
need
present.
yeah, like she didn't need to roll up to her to Tony's crib. It didn't
No.
need to she Pepper didn't need to drive with her, take a drive. Like it just you could have
Right.
done that all differently.
Braid each other's hair.
Right. It didn't,
That's
yeah,
awkward.
There's Tony
really
Stark's
didn't.
ex girlfriend, and now your buddy with
Yeah.
like, I
Like,
need to talk to him. Why? I just need to
what?
talk to him.
Right.
Why? I need to talk
Why?
to him. Get out.
Make an
Literally, the
appointment.
movie's over.
Yeah. Or hey, Tony, here's this technology I have. It blows people up. So maybe we could go to your lab and figure out how to stop that. She didn't lead with that, which was weird. Why didn't you just lead? Hey, you know those explosions? I have something to do with that, and I think that there's a way we can fix it if we work together. I don't know why she didn't say
Well,
all
I
that.
don't think she was trying to lead with that because she's trying to bring either Tony or Pepper and trap them.
So then say, hey, I know a guy that can fix this problem. Come with
Hmm.
me. Unless you want to see people get blown up every 2 days, including your homeboy.
I did have a problem with the like I guess pacing of the first half. I
Mm,
literally pulled out my timer and started timing the scenes. And there are some scenes that were only 2 minutes 30 seconds long, and then it would just transition to the next scene, and that would be like a minute, and then another minute 20 or whatever. So I'm like, this movie, the first half how it was filmed, it felt like a like Fast and Furious movie where like
Hmm.
you're only in there for the action, and if there's any dialogue, it's like 30 seconds, and then a truck is exploding or whatever. So I thought it was just weird and rushed.
Yeah, it does. The pace does change kind of halfway through, doesn't it?
It was bad.
Did you guys like Killian's scene with Pepper in the beginning?
In the beginning,
When he showed her his
It was
brain
good.
and how this technology works?
I thought that scene is one of those scenes where it's like, okay, it's necessary to introduce extremists. It's necessary to introduce like it's basically the plot of the whole movie happens in that scene, and we know, okay, everything's going to be tied to this new thing that they're introducing, which is weird. Does like this is the first time we're hearing about this thing, and this guy behind the scenes has been working on this thing for 13 years because he needed to go to the dentist and he was broke, busted, and disgusted, and Tony Stark ignored him. And because of that, he he's sitting on the roof, you know, I guess contemplating a lot of things. And from that, his whole journey the past 13 years was to just get back at Tony, which actually just I'm just realizing like didn't he have a limp and walk with a cane earlier in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well,
Yeah,
Extremis
but he
healed him.
has
right.
Extremis healed him.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
which
I
is
kind of
why
wish we
he's
got
like,
some
this
flashback
works.
scenes
Yeah,
with him. I kind of wish we got some flashback scenes with him. I like, but
yeah.
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could have made him anti Tony. Like he had his own cave where he was crippled because Tony
Mm.
was crippled in the cave where the shrapnel was in his heart. Well, he was crippled too in his metaphorical cave, and he got out through extremis.
I think Killian had other insecurity issues that are associated with his physical condition, whatever that was, and he just projected that on Tony.
That's what it was. Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree with that.
because like if he's projecting that on Tony and Tony Stark ignored him, it validates any insecurity that he might feel about himself. Hence, why
Mm.
he was considering all the things that he considered, and hence why he ends up improving and then going after Tony. Like his whole life revolves around Tony Stark, which is
Well, his ultimate
13
plan
years.
was to control the Defense Department. So any war the U.S. government would engage in, he would have complete control of it because they'd have to use
Mm,
extremis to fight it. So
mm,
in a weird way, he wanted to be Tony. Because in the Iron Man 1, the army was relying on the Stark tech to do anything. So he wanted that too.
mm.
The army and the president to go to him for his technology.
Yeah. Killian also reminds me of Elon Musk. I don't know if you've seen pictures of Elon from the 90s. Like he's balding and like his hair is receding a little bit. And if you look at Elon now, he has like a full head of hair and he's like Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. So I'm like, that's a very interesting little like, yeah, you're nerdy in the 90s especially. And then like once you make your money, you can like afford to look nice and look good.
Mm. That's that Bosley.
Boz,
That's
Yeah.
it.
got that Boz, got that
That
hairline nice
Bosley.
and clean.
Dang. Okay, so then we get Killian, right, and he invents, not invents, but he creates this thing, and tries to get Tony Stark and other people buying into it, especially with Stark Industries support. He knows that it'll go through the roof so that the military can support it. Um, but then we get the other end, the things that are happening on the news. What did we think of the Mandarin that was on the screen and the video feed that was being sent to America?
I feel like my first reaction was like, okay, I guess this is a necessary scene to kind of drive the movie along. Um, I feel like I don't know, for me at least, the Mandarin wasn't really like scary or like intimidating. Um, so I don't know. I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll see what happens more with this
Hmm.
guy, this villain.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, actually, Elise, what did you think of those scenes? If you have a thought on those scenes.
I I mean it was, I don't know, it was just a
Yeah.
thing. I think it was like,
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a thing, and then y- around closer to the end you just figured out how it kind of connects, that it's just a cover up. And I don't know, it just, I don't, I mean, yeah, even that, I'm just like, I don't know, I get it, distracting the government and, trying to use a cover up, but it still didn't really, I'm almost thinking that you could have done without that, but I don't
mm-hmm,
know. I don't know what I think really.
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
I thought it was
Um,
I thought it was clever because it played on Tony's PTSD because he's like, okay, I don't like when he was in the lab analyzing the blast that his bodyguard got caught in. He was struggling to figure out how the Mandarin was doing it. So it's kind of like it kind of plays into the fear of the of that goes with terrorism. It's like, oh, they can attack him anywhere, anytime. Um, so it did what it needed to do. I remember watching the scenes the first time I watched this movie, those scenes, and I felt like it was like discount Bane. It kind of felt like Bane and Dark Knight Rises all over again.
okay. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So to me, it was just serviceable even the first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching it now, it's just, yeah, it's serviceable. It makes sense. It fits. It feeds into Tony's insecurities and fears. Like, man, this guy's attacking people from anywhere. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to protect Pepper. I got to get in the lab and figure this out. And he and Jarvis are struggling to figure it out. So
I think also we've been watching so many Marvel movies at this point, we know that like or you can at least feel that he's not the main villain either. He's another villain, so he's not as intimidating.
It's interesting to watch this years after it was released and way after we've watched all the other Marvel movies, because this was definitely promoted differently. And
Hmm.
it definitely had a very strong reaction when it released theaters.
yeah, I'm sad
Because
people fell
that,
for it. People
what was
fell
that?
for that nonsense. I'm sad people fell for it, man. Iron Man don't have good
Well, so
villains,
you're
so
saying, wait, so you're
he
saying that you
don't have
saw
good
that coming?
villains. No, okay. I saw that. Well, first of all, Killian's in the trailer that the original trailer was released, and he's in even in the trailer he's like, he goes. They showed a little bit of that Pepper scene, like I'm gonna show you something, and then so you see, and I'm like, okay, so he's clearly involved. Maybe he's not the main villain, but he's involved with all. This is how the Mandarin's doing what he's doing is killing. So to me, it just I don't know. Ah man. Anyway, to me, it just felt like I don't know. For me, maybe I just focus on other things. I think people were focused too much on Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin in his speeches in the trailer, but I was never impressed with the Mandarin in the comics or the cartoon. What sold me on this trailer was Tony walking in the snow with his suit, and he's trying to figure. That's what sold me. I didn't really like. I'm sure the Mandarin will give him a good fight. That's what I thought, but I was more fixated on the fact that Tony didn't have his suit. That's what blew me away. I'm like, oh snap! How's he gonna figure this out? He don't have a suit. He's dragging it in the snow.
Right. Well, yeah, I think people were fixated on the Mandarin because that's what the trailers wanted you to be fixated on.
Yeah.
This movie's coming right off of Avengers, like such a big event, and now we're getting the Mandarin. People were like, "Yo, like what in the world?" And
Yeah,
I think people were
Loki's
really
way
upset
up
with the
here.
okey doke.
Loki's way up here.
Yeah,
Mandarin's way
but
down
dude,
here.
like not every villain can be Loki.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It would
they
be
can.
This
redundant.
was this was basically what I guess what people were seeing
Well, I'm
was an
talking about
opportunity.
in terms of like holding my interest level, not personality.
Oh,
Obviously, all
sure, yeah,
villains have
your
different
interest. I'm talking about in
personalities.
general.
All I'm saying is Loki holds my interest, and very few villains can do that. There's Joker, there's Darth Vader, but there's very few villains that hold my interest on that level. So I get it. People were like, yeah, Avengers, yeah, what's next? Oh, snap, this guy's messing with Tony. Oh, no. Like, I get it, but I didn't fall for it. But I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like when people saw that it was the Mandarin for this movie, it's like, yo, like, because the past movies, Iron Man didn't really get much of a caliber villain,
He
Hmm.
and
doesn't
this
have
had
one.
potential to have that. Well, no, he doesn't. He have the Mandarin though.
Nah, he's overrated. He's overrated.
No, but I'm
I will
saying,
say that
but
to
no, no,
my
okay,
dying
but
day.
in the comics is what I'm saying.
In the
In the
comics,
comics,
I've read the comics. He's overrated. Like, my favorite Iron Man comics is when he fights Hydra.
is
And that's
when
a
Iron
cat
Man fights
villain.
Hydra.
Yeah, when Iron Man fight deals with Hydra or with
Right.
AIM.
Okay. Right. So what makes him overrated in the comics? Let's talk about that real quick before we move on to something else. What makes him overrated in the comics?
He's just a generic kind of he's like a generic Ra's al Ghul. That's the easiest way I
Oh,
can put it.
what? Oh
He's a generic
man,
Ra's al Ghul with
generic.
alien technology. So instead of theatricality and deception, because that's what
Wow.
Ra's al Ghul uses, he uses
Yeah.
alien tech, and he's just not as interesting as Liam Neeson. He's a less interesting Liam Neeson. That's Chinese, hence the
So
name Mandarin.
That's true.
wow.
So that's just me. I know there's Iron Man, diehard Iron Man fans that read the Iron Man comics. They're gonna hate. They're gonna hate mail me. So I know it. I went through it when this movie came
Ooh.
out. So
And it's
I got a
introducing,
lot of
or
hate mail.
and it's like introducing, if not reintroducing, the Ten Rings. And
I mean, the
okay,
10 rings are cool. The 10 rings, that technology is
well, that's
interesting.
the other thing too, because like that's what
Just
people
not
were
the
excited
person.
about in this movie. Was like, okay, we got the Mandarin, and we're hinting at the Ten Rings. And now that we get this okey doke, this turn, we don't get either one.
You got Extremis though.
But what was
It, was,
Extremis?
but
it
it
blew up
wasn't.
every single one of his suits, and
But
all
the
he don't have
impact wasn't
powers.
enough.
He's
Do
not
you know what
Cap.
else?
He needs
Do
a
you know what
suit.
else blows up his suits? A bomb. There are plenty of bombs
What
in
bomb?
just bombs in general. They
All
can
right,
blow
I'm gonna
up.
remember
But
that when we do
what does make
future movies.
Extremis?
When we do the future movies, I'm gonna put that up
Okay,
here.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
put that
Rob.
up there,
Hey,
bro.
remember that time in the previous podcast? That was a bomb that hit Tommy. But what happened to him? Oh, nothing.
So what did Extremis do to his Iron Man suits that were like whoa, that's creating havoc on his suits like nothing else.
He had to keep switching out of them because they got vaporized.
I honestly think, no, if you ask me, his Iron Man suits in this movie were not consistent with Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1.
Yeah, the CGI was trash.
The CGI was trash, which, you know,
Bruh.
the CGI was very trash. Like the first time we see his suit on
Yeah.
screen, I'm like, this looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But the second thing, the suits and how durable they are, especially like what is it, Mark 42? Mark 42 was
Yeah.
the strongest one out of all of them. All of them just like kept on falling apart like it was held on like I don't know, like
Blue.
glue,
It's
you
Extremis.
know?
The power of Extremis.
It's not the power of Extremis, bro. It's not the power of
Trying to make it work.
Extremis. I think if Extremis was introduced in Iron Man 1, the suits would not fall apart as easy as they were. These things were literally Lego blocks in Iron Man 3.
And Iron Man 1, he'd have PTSD all over again if he had to deal with Extremis.
Yeah, but not in the same way. But I think you're right. He would have PTSD.
He'd be like, "Oh crap! How am I gonna figure out my way out of this situation?"
But if you're Tony Stark and you're in your basement or whatever, making all these suits as fast as you can, they're probably not going to be as thorough as Mark 42 or anyone that came before it.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give it that.
Which is why I think they fell apart so easily. Like for example, okay, let's take Mark 42.
Yeah.
That final
the prodigal
scene.
Son. The prodigal son returns.
Right.
What was that?
He said the prodigal son returns. Mark 42.
Turn your scripture to Mark
That was
42.
the joke.
Oh.
That was the joke.
I didn't even.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He
Turn
quoted
your
the
Bibles to
Bible.
Mark 42.
Yeah.
So
he's the prodigal son.
when Tony Stark calls his suit, right?
Yeah.
And then all it does is the shin on its suit bangs against the thing and it just breaks apart and falls apart. A broken Iron Man suit wouldn't even fall apart like that. It would not even fall apart like that.
There's no consistency.
It's not consistent with the other movies. These suits just seem very, very flimsy and fragile.
Well, you could make an argument that it supports like Tony's mental state too.
Yeah,
that's what I think too. Yeah,
all of those.
I think the only suit that like stood the test of time in this movie is Iron Patriot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But he
Like,
couldn't.
like why didn't Extremis like rip apart that suit? Why did that suit stay in place?
Because of Don Cheadle.
Because of Don Cheadle.
But they needed it. They needed it to sneak into the Air Force One to like kidnap the president, though. They could have blasted it if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean well, Rinaldi kind of took it from there, but yeah, like I remember Killian trying to get Rhodey out of it, and so using the Extremis to like, I guess extract him from like the rib cage area or whatever,
Yeah.
but I guess it wasn't really for the purpose of destroying it, but like Rinaldi said, like the whole infiltration.
Yeah, these Iron Man suits in this movie were paper. Like these things were flimsy. I don't think that they were as tough as his past Iron Man suits.
Well,
They looked
to
really
be
cool. Some of
fair,
them looked really cool.
this is a new director. This isn't the guy that did the first two. So
Yeah.
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 Well,
that
we're
might
gonna
have
get
That's
something
into
what
to
the
do
I'm
with
new
it.
thinking.
director. We're definitely gonna talk
Shane
about this
Black.
guy. Yeah, we're gonna talk
Shane
about him.
Black.
Oh
But
my.
okay, so we talked about his suits. We talked about Extremis a little bit.
Rhodey.
You know what I didn't understand? If Pepper is your wife, and if she runs your company and is like the most important person in your life, how come she does not have her own suit?
Well, actually, they're still dating, but still, they're living together. She should have a
Yeah,
suit.
Yeah.
they're together.
Something.
She's the most important person in his life right now.
If she died, that's it. He doesn't know his own social security number.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. She needs a
Man,
suit.
Tony really had a fragile state, or
Yeah.
or he procrastinates way too much because
Yeah,
Or
sure.
even show Pepper how to use the Iron Man suit too, because
that's true.
when it was on her, she's like, "How do I fly?" And just
Yeah,
couldn't get it together.
yeah, it's true.
That is true.
She looked so confused. She was like, "What do I do, Tony? What do I do?"
I mean, I think part of it too was that I don't think he ever really planned on her being in the suit. It was kind of an emergency situation, like, oh my gosh, I have to protect her, so let me just summon the suit to cover her. So I
Hmm.
think, yeah, maybe he could have been like at a earlier point than this event, been like, hey, this is how it works, and like, if she's kind of observing. But I think the Iron Man suit and that whole everything he's got going down in the basement and everything, that's like his baby. That's his, he builds his life around that. And so I think he just was kind of like not really planning to share any of that at all.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Wait, how'd y'all feel
Yeah, I
about
mean, there's.
Rhodey? My man
What
Rhodey.
about Rhodey? Talk to us about Rhodey.
No, go ahead. You were gonna make
Oh
a
no,
point.
no, no. That's you, man. That's you.
How y'all feel about Rhodey? My man Don Cheadle, the real War Machine.
Hmm.
Also, the fact
War
that
Machine rocks.
that scene was funny. He's like, I need that password to the server. He's like, all right, War Machine rocks ROXXX. That was funny.
ROA. War Machine rocks with an X.
Yeah,
I love Don Cheadle in this movie. I feel like he really shined,
Hmm.
and I kept thinking like Terrence Howard could
This is
never do
true.
this.
yeah.
This is
Nah,
very
man.
true.
You are
He'd be
right.
like, come
I
on,
can't.
man. You didn't calibrate the
Right.
suits to me. Don Cheadle's like, you know what? Fine. You didn't calibrate the suits to me. All right, I'm an Air Force, Air Force officer. I can just fight these guys.
Dang. Dang. Yeah, I like Don Cheadle in this movie. I feel like Iron Man 2 did a good job featuring him and having, but I feel like he definitely had more of a role in this movie, especially since they had to take his suit. Um, when I remember seeing the suit for the first time, and I liked it. I liked the suit.
You like
Not
the
better than
Iron,
War Machine suit.
you like the Iron Patriot suit or the War Machine suit in the movie?
Say that one more time, Rinaldi.
Did you like the Iron Patriot suit or the War Machine suit in this movie?
I like the Iron Patriot suit, but the War Machine suit is like it's perfect. I think for
Yeah,
especially for Rhodey, it's a classic War Machine. Like it's his suit. Um, very very minor adjustments as he goes forward, which I think is what Rhodey goes for. He's a soldier, or
Yeah.
not a soldier, but
yeah.
he's like he's a
He's an
colonel.
airman.
And so, yeah, and so I think it fits for what he's doing. Iron Man or Tony Stark is always upgrading. He's all about tech and looking sleek and everything. So he's always trying to upgrade his stuff. The Iron Patriot was okay. I remember seeing it for the first time, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I think it was just to feature the Iron Patriot, but that's it. It was like a
Yeah,
comic book nod.
it's like an Easter egg from the comics.
Yeah.
So, what do y'all think of the ending
The ending,
or the final battle and then the ending with Tony reflecting, being self-reflective?
man, it's like It's like what Fergie was saying, so hallmarky. Like, I think
Hmm.
that's what really, really messed me up, and why I'm tempted to even put it to rescind the plus that I put next to this
Rescind.
because
Rescind.
you just okay. So all right, so Pepper, she's got the extremists and everything, and she's like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be the new normal, and they're like talking it through a little bit, and then they hug, and then having the oh my gosh, the machines
Yeah.
just explode like fireworks. Corny. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
Yep.
yeah. I saw that
Corny.
coming from a mile away.
Hmm.
Oh gosh.
So for me, the perfect ending of this movie would have been, all right, Jarvis, blow up Mark 42, and he's like, Tony, Tony, no! And then boom, there's this explosion, and then you cut to Tony like throwing the arc reactor, the thing that he was obsessing over in the ocean, and then he and Pepper like leave, and that's it. Boom.
I always thought that
That's
that
the ending
was
I wanted.
yeah. My thing is
Keep
like,
it short
okay,
and sweet.
I kind of like the fact that okay, I feel like the dialogue and then the firework that really is what made it hallmarky and like the
Mm.
closing of some epic movie, which I feel like was not that epic.
Not at
Um,
all.
but like he was on some crazy journey, which was not that crazy. He just crash landed in Tennessee.
Mm.
But you have no
And like
suits.
talk to some kid. Okay, yeah, and he made yeah, but like he's okay. This is him getting out of the cave, and I think the arc reactor is part of his story getting out of the cave. I I liked that he decided to go in for surgery to take out the shrapnel. I like that. Because then he's not relying on the arc reactor. I
My
just
I was gonna say my biggest thing with that scene was like that's all he needed, just surgery. Why didn't he get it done before? Like I felt like what?
Yeah, that was a big mistake. Like I said, this movie should have ended with him outsmarting Killian by blowing up Mark 42 with Killian inside it. Him just taking the arc reactor and throwing it in the ocean, and he and Pepper leave. Boom. There's your end. We don't
yeah,
need
that's the
the
better ending.
fireworks. We don't need the little talk, the little romantic talk after she kills Killian, which was really dumb, man. Like, this is an Iron Man movie. Why Pepper got killed Killian? By accident.
Hmm.
Really. That's basically, that's not good.
I also feel like the ending made it seem like a Pepper movie
Yeah.
because she's the one that defeated Killian, really, and they
By
had that
accident.
interaction earlier in the movie.
She didn't even plan all
Yeah.
that. She just said, "Oh wait, how did I do all that? Tony, what's wrong with me?" Like she's literally like, "Wait, what did I just do?"
Are you sure
Yeah.
you like this movie,
No,
Ronaldo?
no, 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 no. Like I said, I gave it a B plus. I didn't give it an A plus.
Okay.
I gave it a B plus.
All
I ain't
right.
Shawnette. I
We
gave it a
never
B
talked about
plus.
the kid and his whole purpose.
Yeah, it's just funny banter with Tony. The end. Yay! Funny banter with Tony because he has funny banter with everybody. And he did help
I
him
thought
build his suits. He did help him rebuild the suits because he didn't have no suits.
yeah, I just for okay, to Ronaldo, maybe you can help me out with this. When he lands in Tennessee and then he drags his suit, which I like that. I like
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
that
was
we get
dope.
like vulnerable Tony. He doesn't have Jarvis. It's just an empty shell of a suit and he's carrying his shell. I like
Yeah.
that. Then he ends up at this one place. He leaves a message for Pepper. Then he like goes into this one shop where all this tech exists, and then the kid comes in. Well, how did he
Yeah.
find this place?
Yeah.
Oh
That was
yeah.
confusing.
Yeah. That again. Maybe if the dude that did the first two Iron Mans would direct in this movie, we would
Like
it
I
would
was
be
trying
this
to
easy.
explain it in my head. Like,
Yeah.
is this a place that he made when he was in Tennessee, or
No,
is
it
this
ain't.
just something that he just like found and it just happened to be a kid with gadgets? Like,
This is
But
a
then also, wasn't it in the kid's backyard too for some reason?
yeah,
Like other scenes show that the kid could just kind of go from his house to the shed. And I was like, what? How does that make sense?
yeah. I feel like a better movie would have like when they're in the lab figuring out the explosion that hurt his friend. He should have mapped all this out before he decided to have an episode of Jerry Springer upstairs. So, like, he should have said, "All right, Jarvis, if we get attacked, we need to go to this base of operations, and this is the Protocol Z, da 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 da, and then you go upstairs and you have a domestic dispute. So, unfortunately, it didn't do that, so we got a big old plot hole. I don't get it. That was too big.
The second I never asked that. I never looked into that. I never thought twice about it. But watching it this time, I saw that. I was like, wait a second. Why is he walking into this random place and everything is built kind of like he built it? So it's like, okay, does he have a private shed that we don't know about? No, it's not his because it belongs to this kid.
Plot hole.
It just so happens.
And funny banter with the kid.
He didn't go from shed to shed. He didn't go from house to house. He just the one shed that he goes to. I don't know. I thought that was so weird. Maybe somebody who's listening to this podcast, maybe you guys can help us.
What's even weirder is I don't think any of Shane Black's movies have funny banter with the kids, which is I don't know why that was. I didn't have an issue with. I didn't have an issue.
Director a little bit.
I didn't have any issue. I didn't have any issue with the kid. It's just why, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like it would have been. I don't know. I didn't have an issue with the kid, but it was a plot hole. But
I feel like the kid was only there for the Christmassy feel to it, kids and Christmas.
I see.
Yeah.
Hey kid, I'm gonna give you a miracle. Here's this little gadget.
Right.
Now the bullies won't hurt you. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there's a reason why I didn't give it an A+. This is one of them.
Well, is there anything else that that we wanted to talk about? Anything on our we feel like wow we missed this point or?
Oh wait, yeah. Going back to the suit thing, I had a question. I wrote it down when Tony's house was being blown up essentially, and Tony had to dive into the water. How come his suit didn't survive in water, but it did in space? I thought that was questionable.
Oh, well, I feel like some of these suits he wasn't too thorough with making them.
Are you talking about the suit in Avengers?
No, he's talking about yeah. Because that one was in space.
I guess this is kind of how I explain it, or how I would explain it. The suit didn't really survive in space. It did shut down when he was in space. Just about right when he breached the portal to throw the missile. That's when his thrusters went out and he just kind of plummeted back to Earth. Before that, he was making improvements to his suits so that he can fly in space. In this movie, the suit that he ended up wearing, the Mark 42, it's not even finished. He can't fly. There's things he can't do. Even the weapons
he can't fire missiles.
It just didn't work.
Yeah, he couldn't fire any missiles.
Yeah, he couldn't fire missiles. So the suit itself wasn't finished. So when he was in the suit and he was underwater and he was trapped underwater and it started filling up with water, I look at that as a flaw in an unfinished suit. Maybe it just wasn't ready. I mean, not maybe. It definitely wasn't ready for that kind of combat.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I explain it. I mean, in my head at least. I'm trying to explain something that they probably didn't even think of. Maybe that was just, hey, I want him to struggle with a couple of things. He's in a suit and he drowns.
Jarvis was warning him that these suits needed to be recalibrated in the very beginning, but he kept ignoring Jarvis. And he was goofing around with the suit and with the video and trying to jump into the suit. Yeah, so he wasn't really listening to Jarvis. Because Jarvis was like, yeah, we kind of really need to do more tests. And he's like, yeah, whatever, Jarvis. Just turn the music on. I actually like that song. It was playing.
I thought that was weird. I like the song too, but I thought that was weird because it's another way to show that this movie is so different this Tony Stark, this Iron Man is just so different than the other two Iron Mans.
Yeah.
The music is different. We don't get any AC/DC.
Yeah, that's true. It's the whole Christmas thing. It's kind of like a little virus in this movie.
Yeah.
Making it a little... To me, this movie has some allergies, but to some of y'all, this movie got COVID-19.
No, this movie...
Because of that Christmas
stuff. It's got a full diagnosis. It's got all the symptoms. This one got some sniffles. It's got some sniffles. He takes some Claritin,
Put some, pop
No,
some
man.
Claritin in there,
No,
and then
this
you're good to
movie
go.
this movie needs more than a Claritin. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you why in our next segment called
A little R&R.
if you go back and watch this trailer for Iron Man 3, and you get no context for the MCU, you get no Avengers, you get no Infinity War, you get no improved movies, and you just look at the trailer, you see a build up to a movie that is highly anticipated with a villain that can really, really damage Tony Stark. Even in the movie, it seems like that the damage resulted in Tony Stark's Iron Man suits being demolished, and he's vulnerable. Ben Kingsley seems to do a great job portraying the Mandarin in these trailers. You see, Marvel's biggest problems with making these movies are villains. They've always had a villain problem. If any movie showed this, it is this one. This is the movie that takes the cake for Marvel's problems with portraying villains. When you have Ben Kingsley portray this terrorist, portray the Ten Rings, portray the Mandarin, you think that this is going to be a full-on terrorist attack on America and Iron Man has to do something. But then when you pull the okie doke and you upset fans by throwing in Ben Kingsley as the actor, I'm just an actor, it makes you wonder who the real big bad is. Oh, there's got to be somebody bigger than him, somebody worse than him. Who's behind the scenes? But then you find out the big bad is Leonard from Memento. You get underwhelmed. Just a little underwhelmed. Which draws me to the real problem of this movie. The real problem of this movie is not Ben Kingsley or the fact that the Mandarin is some white guy with tattoos who can breathe fire.
Come on, Trevor.
The real problem is Shane Black. Have you ever watched Lethal Weapon? Shane Black directed those buddy cop movies, and this is not a buddy cop movie. Yet Shane Black was really trying hard to make this a buddy cop movie and eliminate Iron Man and putting Iron Man in the forefront to really cause Tony Stark to work side by side with Rhodey. This is not a buddy cop movie though. This is Iron Man. This is not Bruce Willis and his movies in Die Hard. This is not a Christmas movie. This is Iron Man 3. Shane Black, you've let down a lot of fans. And because of you, you've made this the black sheep of the MCU.
I think Robert Downey Jr. is an incredibly gifted actor in his way that he has endeared people and drawn people to his performance as Iron Man, to the point where expectations are raised for every one of his solo movies. And that's unfortunate because Robert Downey Jr. can only do his role. He is not the director, and he is not the writer, and he's not the producer. He is Iron Man, and that's all he can be. Finally, we have an Iron Man movie that actually has a challenge that Tony Stark has to overcome, and an Iron Man movie that actually focuses on Iron Man. Unfortunately, the previous two Iron Man movies failed to do this. Iron Man 2 was a bunch of Easter eggs, and a lot of focus on Black Widow and Nick Fury. Iron Man 1 had great focus on Tony Stark as he became Iron Man, but not much of a challenge outside of getting out of that cave when he first built his suit. But this movie puts Tony Stark to the test, not having any suits. And the words that Captain America said to him in Avengers haunted him throughout this movie. What are you without the suit, Tony? What are you? And he was forced to answer that question in this movie. And that drew me in. The reality is, Tony Stark is not Batman or Bruce Wayne. He may be a philanthropist, a billionaire, and a playboy with nice toys. But he doesn't have the villains. He does not have Joker, he does not have Two-Face, he does not have Riddler. If fans really were honest, Tony Stark doesn't have any great villains. Tony Stark's best comics were when he was fighting other people's villains, like Hydra or Loki. Unfortunately, people got fooled, much like the people in this movie got fooled about who the Mandarin really was. People got fooled in focusing on the wrong things. Cool, interesting, fancy stuff instead of the man behind the suit, Tony Stark. And then, because of that, they focused on villains that really are better than the first two Iron Man villains. So then why does it really matter who the Mandarin really is if we got Tony Stark being played by Robert Downey Jr.?
Listen, my problem with this movie is not at all any shape or form how Robert Downey Jr. portrays Tony Stark and the challenges he faces in this movie. There are some questions to it that I have. My biggest issue with this movie is the Mandarin switch. It's my biggest issue. I care. I'm watching this movie. I'm watching this trailer, going like, "Yo, we're getting Ben Kingsley and the way he like delivers his lines in the trailers and even in the movie. I'm like, yo, like we need to see this guy terror attack on America. President, what's he gonna do? Iron Man, what are you gonna do?" And then we get this like random white guy with tattoos that can breathe fire like some white dragon. Like, what? It is the biggest letdown I've ever seen in an okie doke.
You need to read Iron Man comics. You need to read every Iron Man comic is okie doke.
But see,
every comic is okie doke.
Okay, great, but that's great. And I get that, but I'm not watching this just because I've seen the comic. If I'm watching this movie because I've seen it in the comic books, page for page, then why am I gonna pay to see this? But this is a movie that is directed by a guy who has never done a superhero movie before this.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on
that.
He's never done a superhero
movie. So I'm pretty sure he's walking into this going, yeah, I don't know much about comics. Yeah, I've read this comic here, this comic there, but I'm going to do my own thing because I really want to do Lethal Weapon or I really want to do Die Hard. And this movie was not Die Hard.
I mean, that's what happened.
And he's trying to pull some weird okie doke where the villain is really a cover up. But I feel like that with any other movie, and you have a real big bad behind the scenes, like it's kind of like, okay, Loki's the villain, but he's not the real big bad. The real big bad is Thanos. This movie did not do that.
Yeah.
This movie was, the Mandarin, not the real Mandarin. He's an actor. The real Mandarin is this white guy who can breathe fire. The stupidest okie doke I've ever seen.
It's not about the villains. It's about Tony.
It should be about the villains.
It's about Tony.
It should be about the villains because it's like, okay.
You didn't see the flashback in 1999. It was all about him, baby.
Okay,
you didn't remember anybody. You didn't care about nobody. That makes it
about the villain, though, doesn't it? Because the flashback, the villain is there. In present day, the villain is there. The end of the story, who does he have to kill? The villain. It is about the villain. And the other thing too is that this is who he has to face. This guy who had braces and he's like walking with a limp, and like he has some like insecurities.
That's the best you're gonna get.
Start.
That's the best. I mean, unless you thought Obadiah Stane and Vanko were better.
Obadiah Stane was better.
I don't know why. I have no idea why people saw that trailer and thought after Vanko and Obadiah Stane, this is gonna be third time's the charm. They're gonna get this thing right.
No, bro. No. It's not that they're gonna get things right because people saw Iron Man 2 and was like, that was kind of a letdown, but they weren't disappointed.
Yeah.
They saw Avengers. And then came Iron Man 3 and they were like, yo, they're getting Mandarin. Yo, what's Tony Stark gonna do? They were okie doke in the way that you should not be okie doke.
I feel like they got okie doke the minute they decided to fixate on the villain. Like,
because the trailers
Iron Man don't have good villains. They messed up because Iron Man don't got good villains, so they messed up right there.
Here's my thing. The casual Iron Man viewer. Let's first of all, people were not
Iron Man fans. The casual Iron Man viewer saw Iron Man 1. What did they? Okay, the casual viewers, did they see the first two?
Yeah.
Did they see the first two Iron Man films?
Yeah.
So tell me about those villains.
The villains were not that great. But hold up, but Rinaldi,
trash villains.
Rinaldi, Obadiah Stane was better than both the villains in both Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. But let me go back to my point. if anybody wants to watch Iron Man, it's not because they saw it in the comics. Nobody was an Iron Man fan until Robert Downey Jr. came on the screen. And so if they're making an Iron Man movie, they can't base it off the comics. They can't. Okay,
You made my point. You made my point. Robert Downey Jr. is why people are buying the tickets.
That's why they're buying the ticket.
Thank you for making my point.
But you're not hearing my point. Yes, everybody's going to see a movie that Robert Downey Jr. is in. But why then trash a villain? Why then take a villain and do some cute thing with it? Why not actually make a threatening villain for this guy?
Because he's a discount Bane. I saw this in Dark Knight Rises. He doesn't have because think about it. Batman's back is broken. He doesn't have his Batman suit. He doesn't have his utility belt. He's alone. Yeah. He doesn't have Alfred. Okay. We saw this.
Yeah, we did see this.
He doesn't have Jarvis.
You know who else we saw?
Rinaldi,
he's alone. Rinaldi, you know who else we saw? We saw Batman. Is Iron Man not a discount Batman?
That's true.
Yes.
So we're seeing Batman all over again. Nobody's complaining.
But
so
he doesn't have a Joker.
Hold up. How many times?
Hold
up. Time out. If we've seen the parents' death, if we've seen Bruce Wayne and his parents die every single movie, and you know that there's going to be another Batman movie coming out with Batman's parents' death, are you going to go see the movie?
Absolutely not.
I know you're not, but what about Ronaldo?
I don't care. It depends on who the villain,
who the villain is, right?
The
who the villain is.
Yeah, because Batman has a great villain.
But so my thing is though, okay. For example, let's use this as an example. Nobody went to see Iron Man until they knew that Robert Downey Jr. was playing this character, and they fell in love with this character, which means that Marvel has a great opportunity. Hold on, Marvel has an opportunity to make villains good, but they don't. They don't. They just don't. They just don't care about their villains. So this Mandarin comes in. I'm going back to when I saw this trailer on YouTube, and I'm like, yo, this is gonna be like they got Ben Kingsley. The lines he's delivering, it's good. It sounds threatening, and it sounds like a worldwide thing that's about to, or at least nationwide, that's about to take place. Okay, so I'm going in this going like, okay, if they're taking the Mandarin, who's an Iron Man villain, and doing something, because they're already doing something different with him. Like, the Mandarin in the comics is not even the same race as Ben Kingsley. They're already doing something different. So let them do something different with this guy. But they took that and they went completely left field and brought in this white guy with slick back hair saying, I'm the Mandarin, blah, blah. Don't kill this guy. Why is he the villain?
Take away the white dude. What is Ben Kingsley, old man Ben Kingsley, gonna do in a fight against suited up Tony Stark? Help educate me. Let's say Ben Kingsley character was the real villain and he killed Killian. He was like, you failed me, Killian. Bang bang, you're dead. All right. So how's the rest of the movie go? Because how's he gonna fight? How's he gonna fight?
Okay, but what year did this movie come out?
2013.
2013. What was going on politically at that time?
I don't know.
Was there any war that we were involved in? Were we capturing anybody?
Yeah. I mean, war with Afghanistan, yeah.
Okay, so why don't you play on that commentary? He doesn't have to be like somebody who like fights him like hand-to-hand combat. But there's a reason why the government's involved in this, and they need Iron Man. And they need Tony. They need Tony Stark. Right, but my thing is that all his villains don't need to have hand-to-hand combat. Like Joker is a great villain, not because he can go hand-to-hand with Batman.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you want to rehash, that's fine. But to me, you're just describing a rehash. You're referencing stuff I've already seen.
I know, but the thing is, we've seen so many movies that are nothing but rehashes. This movie itself is a rehash of Die Hard.
Yeah, but Tony Stark isn't. The way Robert Downey Jr. portrays Tony Stark is not a rehash.
Okay, but see, me and you, we're not disagreeing on that. I'm not at all disagreeing. I went to see the movie because of Robert Downey Jr. I'm telling you what I got disappointed with. I wish.
I mean, if you want to see Batman Begins Iron Man version, fine, go, because you're describing Batman Begins mixed with Dark Knight Rises with a little bit of Joker as like the spices on top of the meal. That's what you do. You want Mandarin to be the Joker, like that type of threat. Like, oh, he's the guy, and then
Well, the
you want it
Joker
to
is
be,
not a national terrorist. First of all, he's not a national
no,
terrorist.
but in terms of the animosity between the two characters, because your whole point is a villain has to have this animosity towards the hero that's palpable. It makes you want to, it draws you in.
Right.
That's
So
what Joker does with Batman.
right, but
Their interaction pulls you
with
in.
Joker is that Joker has an obsession with Batman. The Mandarin does not care about Iron Man as much as he cares about what America did to wherever he's from, and he just wants to attack America and he wants to target the president. That's
But the
no,
way
no, no,
this
hold on, no,
movie's
hold on. And that's where Iron Man can get involved. I'm telling you what could happen in this movie. That's not what happened in this movie.
yeah, but I don't know. To me, just like to me, I think this is a dead end. This is a dead end
It
to
is.
me.
It surely is.
Yeah, no, because we're going to disagree, and I see your
Because
points. I
Iron Man
do,
doesn't have good
but
villains.
I
He
think
doesn't have good villains. And
no, he
even
does
and
not.
I'm
He does
forget
not.
the comics. I'm burning the metaphorically. Let's just go with Iron Man 1 and Iron
Yeah,
Man 2. That's what the casual fan saw. How are those villains?
right. But the casual fans, they're not overwhelmed. Like, whoa, did you see the villain? That's not the point I'm making. I'm making like, let's make a good villain, not a better villain than the hero that Tony Stark is. But can we at least get a decent or good villain? Do we have to trash every villain
Because
that we
to
find on the
me,
screen? This was a
I
great
feel
opportunity.
like I like the fact that Tony Stark's a scientist. He's a problem solver. That's what draws me in. Like he had a problem. He
Right.
has no suits. He has to rebuild them. Like that's just what's put. Because I'm tired of. I don't always want to see a hero fighting a villain in some battle that's drawn out and they're saying lines at each other and like I don't know. Like it doesn't always have to be
Well,
that
again,
way.
this isn't that typical movie. I don't think we've seen um, a capture or a terrorist movie. I don't think we've seen that in a superhero movie like this. Like this would be a capture the terrorist movie, just like Bin Laden. We have not really seen that in a superhero movie. We've seen a superhero movie where they play on terrorists, where they capture the hero
Yeah,
or someone that the hero wants to save, but we don't see the other way around. We don't see the hero like investigating and participating in capture the terrorist. It would have been a tongue in cheek to what was going on in politics,
yeah.
but I think, yeah, I just don't think that we don't need a
And why
hand to
is the
hand
race a big
combat.
thing? He has tech that's powerful. Like I guess you want Mandarin to use the extremis. I guess is that your basically you want to get rid of Killian, just have Mandarin use
How would
the
you make it better?
extremis. He's the one that uses the extremis.
So how would I make the movie better? Okay. The way I would make the movie better is okay, you have the same opening. Maybe you have, you clean up out Killian a little bit. But you still make him like a little bummy and you don't have those deep rooted insecurities. Maybe he just wants to be like Tony Stark, but he doesn't carry that over the years. But maybe over the years, because of that, he goes, you know what? Tony's not going to listen to me. After some reflection, Tony's not going to listen to me. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to create something magnificent, epic, awesome. And then through the years, he does that. But then 13 years later, he runs into Pepper Potts, or he's trying to make it even bigger. And he tries to get someone to, I don't know, vouch for it or invest in it. And at some exposition or at some networking event or whatever, he runs into Pepper Potts and he goes, "Aren't you CEO of Stark Industries?" I remember Tony Stark. Yeah, he didn't listen to a thing I said, blah blah. Let's plan a meeting. And then we have that meeting with them together and he shows them the brain, we show them extremis, blah blah. So I would keep the extremis story, but I would flip the real villain. I would throughout the movie, I would keep it separate, the whole extremis and Killian, and I would separate them with the Mandarin. Okay, I would separate them. I would still get the footage on TV, terrorist attack, blah blah, explosions. But then later on, we would find out that the Mandarin, which is Penn Kinsley, is using extremists to blow these things up. So instead of people strapping bombs to their chest, they're actually extremists. What do you call it?
Extremis
Hosts, if you
bombers.
will. Okay. Yeah, extremist bombers or extremist hosts. Okay, I would include that in there. But as far as the switch, I would I would I would flip it. I would flip it. I would throughout the whole movie we think Killian is the one involved in either the bombings or including extremists or whatever that I don't know. He's in some weird dealings in some way, shape, or form. We're just like, what is he up to? And then when he's finally face to face with Iron Man or i.e. Tony Stark, that's when it's revealed that he was bought out by the Mandarin. And the Mandarin is using him and his gear and his technology to terrorize America. That's I would work that in somehow, but for some reason I was never fond of the fact of having this like slightly larger than life villain portrayed on the trailers, and then the switch happens and it's this like measly white guy. I never liked that. That
Wait, I have a
always bothered
question.
me. I would switch it back.
What if they did it like
Yeah.
Batman Begins? It was way more subtle. And Killian was Liam Neeson. Like he was like that type of like way more subtle and more interesting.
I feel like throughout Batman Begins, Liam Neeson delivers on who he is, and it doesn't. It's not underwhelming when you find out like yo the whole time because the real Ra's al Ghul was killed early on in the movie,
Well,
right?
no, he was still alive. He actually shows up at the party. The Asian dude.
The real Ra's al
Yeah, he
Ghul that
sees. Yeah, Bruce Wayne sees
yeah.
the Asian dude, and then he realizes that Liam Neeson's the.
I
Yeah,
I missed that part.
but I get your point.
Yeah. No, I would but see even in that, you're watching the movie and you see this Asian guy who's Ra's al Ghul, and even for me watching it, I'm not totally convinced that that's Ra's al Ghul.
Okay.
As an actor. As an actor, I don't he's not delivering on Ra's al Ghul. I feel like Liam Neeson is delivering on Ra's al Ghul without us knowing, and then when it's revealed, you're like, yo, okay, he's the big bot, he's the big bad. But I feel like that switch worked because you're following this guy, like, okay, he's Ra's al Ghul. We're gonna wait till he delivers, and then when he delivers, it's not him, it's Liam Neeson. This movie does the opposite. Ben Kingsley delivers on the threats, and then when this other guy comes in, all he does is breathe fire, and he's able to take a hit from Iron Man. That it's an undersell. It's
It's funny how
underwhelming.
you like brush that
It's
off.
very underwhelming.
Yeah, it took a hit from high grade military armor that Thor could take hits from, but yeah, whatever.
I mean, but I'm saying like that goes along with the inconsistencies
Of the
of
suits,
this
yeah.
movie. Like okay, let's take this as an example. Throughout the whole fight, towards the end, all the Iron Man suits come and they start fighting with all these extremist hosts or whatever, and they're chopping away at these Iron Man suits because extremist is that powerful. Well, why wasn't it that powerful when the big bad of the movie had extremist, breathes fire, and he can't destroy a single suit?
Well, he wasn't
And the
trying.
one he did
wasn't,
destroy, like he
he
falls right
wasn't
out.
trying to destroy it at the time. He was trying to use it to sneak into.
Then what kind of
Because
a
he was
big
trying
bad
to
is
sneak
he?
in to kidnap the. He was trying to use the suit to kidnap the president. That's why he didn't destroy it.
No, I'm talking about in the end.
Because that was Mark 40.
In the fight
That
with
was Mark
him and Iron
42.
Man.
That's his best suit. I mean, we can stop this because we're going in circles. We're like nitpicking different scenes.
But you just said, but wait a minute, but you just it's Mark 42, but you just said extremists can like slice through all Iron Man suits.
Well, yeah, but Mark 42 is just
That's
Mark
why it's
42 is the one that he's been working on for like days. They said that at the beginning of the movie. Jarvis was like, "Hey, Tony, you haven't slept in 72 hours." All right, we're nitpicking specific scenes, and the girls are bored. Like, let's just move on. We're like, let's just move on, or let's see what the girls think. They're probably gonna take your side, so I'm gonna get triple teamed up in here.
I would change the movie that way by flipping the villains back to where they should be, and I would try to keep the consistencies alive with the past Iron Man 2 and then Iron
Predictable.
Man
Sorry, I had allergies.
No, man, no. Like,
the evil brown man, the evil brown man. Yeah, like that's gonna be a new idea. That's interesting. We
Evil
never seen
brown
an
man.
evil brown man in the Middle East before. Yeah, in
Evil brown
popular
man. You're
culture, just
talking
in
about how
popular culture, like the idea,
Yep.
it's like in the '80s where every villain in an action movie was a Russian dude because of the Cold War. It's like
Mhm.
every villain was a Russian dude or a European dude. Now we gotta have a brown man. I don't know. I like the fact they flipped it with Killian. I think the only issue is that they made him too over the top, like too much. Like if all you need to do is tell Guy Pearce, yo, do everything you're doing, but way more subtle. That's it. And then don't have
Yeah. So
Broham, Ben Kingsley, act like some party dude. Just like he's a terrorist, but he's not the main guy. I think they messed up with him being this drug addict guy with strippers and like that's like taking salt
yeah.
Yeah.
and pouring it on Rob's wound. It's like, oh yeah, he's not only the henchman, but he's just some bachelor that's drunk with strippers. That's
Yeah.
way over the top.
I think because of the switch, he had to go overboard.
Nah,
Killian had to go overboard because of the switch. They had to make him bigger than what he was supposed to be because it's a
he
switch.
has technology that's effective. Like they should have. I don't know. Like I feel like the science of it all is missing with Iron Man. Like at the end of the day, he's a
Yeah, that's
scientist.
true.
Killian's a scientist, and
Yeah,
some of
that's
the
true.
yeah.
So what do you so what girls you heard us go back and forth and duke it out. What's your take on some of the things we said?
I think Rinaldi's point about having the big brown guy being the villain is very interesting, and I like that they didn't go that angle because it is very typical. And like, why make the brown guy the terrorist? Um, so yeah, whatever Rinaldi said.
So wait, help me out. What do you mean by the big brown guy?
That's
That's
what
what
I
you
was
guys were
saying
saying.
because
Something
because
about I
That's
don't
because
know.
Rinaldi.
in the
That's
'80s,
Yeah,
Rinaldi.
right? Every action movie, it was a
yeah,
European dude, specifically Russian. Now with the war
Okay.
with Afghanistan, people just in pop culture, people
Yeah,
view
like a Middle Eastern, like person of Middle Eastern person of
like a
color.
Middle Eastern
yep,
dude. Yeah, like yeah, so
Yeah.
yep,
yeah, Middle Eastern person of
yep.
color. That's
Okay.
the boogeyman. That was the boogeyman. And then yeah,
The
and then
stereotypical.
Yeah,
in the
that I
60s
get
it was
that. That
Asian
makes
people.
sense.
In the 60s, that was the boogeyman, which is where we got the Mandarin from
Yeah. I'm
originally.
glad I'm glad you yeah.
That's where this whole nightmare started because in the 60s every villain was an Asian dude and that's where the Mandarin came from when because Iron Man was created in the 60s.
Yeah, I just think that like I think what you just said makes sense why they went the direction that they went. Because if they did commit to a Middle Eastern villain and to supply commentary on whatever's happening in politics at the time, I think Marvel would have been in like a lot of trouble, like a whole lot of
Mm.
trouble.
They
Um,
should just focus on the
but I still
technology.
think that you commit
That's
to the terrorist
like
idea,
the
you
technology.
just don't do
Like
yeah.
why are we
Yeah, that's yeah,
focusing on
exactly.
philosophy and
You don't do
ideology?
bar for bar, like note for note, exactly what's happening.
They can regenerate. I feel like that could have been touched on. He can regrow limbs. Like what? Why was that emphasized more? Like a villain that can just regrow limbs? That's like. But no, we had to. I mean, I hate Shane Black too because he turned it into this whole thing, this whole distraction. That's basically what it is.
Mm.
I mean, the fact that you're brushing it off. You're like, yeah, he can regrow limbs, whatever. I don't like this. Like, that's not good. So that's
That's
the big
but
screw up. That's the big screw up.
yeah, the fact that they grow limbs, like I've seen that. Okay, they grow limbs, so
But,
what? Shoot him in the
but
head,
no, but what I'm saying is, I feel like it's a waste of an ability because you didn't like the villain.
Yeah, they could have done more with it.
Yeah,
Is what you're saying? Yeah,
yeah, like, and I get what you're saying. You didn't like him, and that's unfortunate because that technology
I
it
think it
was
was
interesting.
honestly. I don't think I like Guy Pearce. I in this
Same.
Yeah,
movie, I don't think I like Guy Pearce in this movie.
like he didn't fit. for you.
No. I think
Yeah.
if you put someone else in that role, they may have delivered better. But I just don't like Guy Pearce in this movie.
So who would you guys cast? Because I know y'all were mixed about this movie, and I guess I'm putting it kindly. Who would y'all cast as this? Who would you cast as this villain?
I liked Guy Pearce. I thought he did a good job. I think again, if you just tone it down, it'd be more believable.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the little switch or whatever. That wasn't the issue for
Yeah,
me. It
I
was
don't
pretty
think.
much
Yeah, I
everything
don't think I
else.
would.
But
Yeah, I don't
The
think I would
Christmas stuff.
recast per se. I think everything it just really lies in just what happened behind the scenes, like the direction and just the production. It
yep.
just yeah. And so I think yeah, like Fergie was talking about earlier, Rinaldi, I did like your point about oh well, this would have been a typical villain, this and that. However,
Mm-hmm.
I also lean a little bit more towards Rob simply because as soon as you start, okay, you're going to make a film adaptation of something, it's almost as if you have the permission to retcon. Specifically when it comes to like, these superhero films. So like so yeah, like you were saying, Iron Man's villains are whack. Yeah, but like you can kind of retcon some of it and switch it up so that they're not
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
whack. So like I don't think
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of don't think that's a valid excuse.
Like they
Let's
did
see.
that with
Yeah, yeah,
Robert Downey Jr.'s
exactly. They
Iron Man.
switched his
They
whole
retconned Iron
yeah.
Man.
So they do have the ability to switch things. I think yeah, I think homeboy he just really didn't do a good job. And no, I don't think yeah, the creativity wasn't there. I think they were well, I can't say that. I think them kind of trying to trick you with the Mandarin, but then revealing the real villain of it all was Killian. I think that was a good idea, just poor execution. So they just, yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Because they did go extra. He was like, he didn't even know where he was. Tony was like, "Wait, you're the man? You don't? He didn't know his name, his own name, where he was. He was on pills. That's way too
I still
much."
remember when I was in the movie theater and that happened, and I'm like, I was disappointed, but I was waiting for like, okay, if he is not the big bad, who is? And 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 it was like, it's this guy, and I'm like, who? This guy? Are you serious? That was
But I think it was obvious though. I feel like from the very beginning, you know what I mean? Like, why go through the trouble of introducing him in the beginning in that way if it's not going to be for a big payout? So that's why that
right.
didn't bother me as
I
But
agree
much.
with
this
that too. But
movie,
Marvel was doing something where they were starting to
yeah.
introduce multiple villains in movies.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
thought that that's what they were doing in this movie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that. I feel like execution at least got it right. It's all about the execution. If you're gonna take a risk, you gotta execute it right, or else Rob's gonna be
Hold
mad.
on, let me write it down because we're at like we've
So
watched
we
how
gotta do our
many now? Is
rankings.
this six or seven?
Yes. We got to do our
Wait,
rankings. I
wait,
got
wait.
mine.
7?
Before that, we
Oh
final
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
question.
yeah.
you got a question.
Final question. So, what would you present to Tony Stark? What scientific idea or technology would you present to Tony Stark at that conference in Berlin?
Oh,
Jeez,
dang.
why you always do this?
Hmm.
Gotta really think about this.
I'm sorry.
It is a
No,
good
that's a good
one, but
one.
I'm like, dag, I don't really know. I ain't a scientist.
I would introduce a female Iron Man suit for his wife. That's what I would
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I don't
He was.
understand why she doesn't have protection at all. It's
Hmm.
just happy.
Hmm. I would I would introduce a script for a good villain.
Wow. Wait.
That's what I would do. That's
We're
what I would do.
talking
Like,
about
you
who
don't
you
have good
present
bad
to
guys in
so
Marvel.
Tony,
I.
not
So this is what I would do. This is what I would do. I would tell Tony, you need an AI program that can anticipate what someone else is going to say, so you have even funnier banter. So it like predicts
Dang.
like you could program it to like, all right, pretend to be Rhodey, and then the AI program pretends to be Rhodey, and then it's like, see, now when I meet the real Rhodey, I got jokes that will make him shut his mouth in 2 seconds flat.
Oh my gosh. Not that he needs it though, but that's a
Always
good
be
one.
better.
I don't know if I
That's a
have
good one.
any like super out there, like cool scientific. Like I'm just not very scientific. You know, one thing that I thought about that if I had the technology I'd make, but this isn't something Tony would, he'd probably kick me out. But like if you can find a way to make an AC t-shirt, you know, so like the t-shirt keeps you cool somehow. I don't know how it's gonna get in the fabric, but like the
Yo, that's
microfibers or
fresh.
something,
Oh
you
dang.
know, he probably won't go for
Yeah.
that.
Oh
But you know,
man.
if you
Yeah.
wanna, I mean, if you want to slap his logo on there, start, you know, that's a little extra income, extra stream of income that he doesn't need, you know.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I'd pay for that.
Why is Elise's presentation to Tony Stark the only one that's actually an invention?
It's an idea, but I
Yeah,
would
that's a
not
good point.
patent it. Like,
Yeah.
So mine's an improvement.
Mine's for
Yeah, mine's is improving too. He
oh
needs to get
yeah,
his
and
own.
by the way, I'm not sure how I felt about y'all calling him a discount Batman. I'm a little bit like that could be.
Listen,
He is a discount
No, so
Batman.
in the movie, he's not a discount Batman, but the reason why the character was made was in response to Batman.
But like,
Yeah, that's true. But it also they made him kind of a reverse Batman because they wanted him to focus on like war in different countries, whereas Batman is
Yeah.
focusing on criminals in one city. So
yeah,
it's like reverse.
I guess
What were you
that
about
makes
to
sense.
say?
But yeah, but when I heard y'all say discount, I'm thinking of like great value brand. I'm like, dag, that's like
Dang.
that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
No,
I was a little
I went
extra with it
overboard with
because I
that.
was
He's
trying to make
definitely
a
not a
point at
discount
Rob.
Batman. He's definitely not because I forget
Yeah.
where I heard this from, but just because like somebody copies or does it again does not mean that it's not better than the original. So this is definitely I
Right.
would not.
Yeah.
Obviously, I said that out of like anger or emotion or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, this is not. He's not a discount Batman per se, but he's definitely not the original. He's definitely a response
right.
to Batman that Marvel had. This is true.
Stan Lee's characters are a response to DC, like all of them, because Stan Lee. I respect Stan Lee, even though I'm a DC for life guy. Stan Lee was like, "Nah, I'm gonna show the comic book
Yeah,
world it's not just
Yeah.
Batman, Superman,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Wonder Woman."
then,
So I
so
respect
what
that.
would you rank these movies so far? From best to worst. Yeah.
I'll go first.
Hmm.
Number one. Wait,
I'm
Andre.
leaving that in post.
Andre.
I'm
Keep
gonna
it.
keep these.
Keep it in
I'm gonna let
post.
Andre
Andre.
know. I'm like, yo, Andre, you're featured on
Alright.
the
Jesus.
Featuring Andre screams.
Yeah. He's fighting he's upset about the Guy Pearce as well being the Mandarin. Yeah. He's fucking. It's always been me, Tony. This whole time. You're gonna learn. I'm the Mandarin. Okay, sorry. Alright. So number one. Yep, 7. Stay
7.
heavy.
Yep.
Number one, Avengers. That's, duh. Duh, 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 duh. Number one's Avengers. Number 2, Iron Man 3. Number 3, Iron Man 1.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No.
Number 4.
Yo.
Okay.
Wait.
Did I
Okay.
not
Okay.
give
Sorry.
it?
No. Finish your list. I'm sorry, bro. You're just blowing all of us
I
out of the
gave it
water
a.
right
I
now.
gave it a B plus at the beginning. I gave it a
Yo.
B
But
plus.
like
I guess you fell
after
asleep.
Avengers,
You
the
fell.
next best movie is Iron Man 3.
You are
Yeah.
To our listeners, you should see everyone's face. Elisa's off the screen. Rob has his hands on his head in amazement, and my
I
eyes are
I
died.
feel
bug-eyed.
like
I'm on screen.
this movie,
Oh,
people, I don't know what's
Well, I
like.
appreciate your
People,
honesty.
I guess, are not paying attention. They're not paying attention. They're not paying attention because I said this at the beginning. I gave it a B plus. It's
Yeah,
simple math.
we got that. We got
Why
that
are you
though. We got
surprised?
that. But better, but second to Avengers. Better than Iron Man.
All
Oh my
right.
Yikes.
gosh.
Anyway, some of
Yikes.
y'all people, I guess, I don't know.
I watched Captain America 5 times before I flick this on again.
I don't know why you said it was cliche.
It is
Anyway,
cliche, but I would prefer that.
Okay, but also, we're not
Dang.
just like
number one,
us.
Okay.
Avengers number one,
Okay. Okay.
Iron Man 3, Iron Man 1, Cap, Thor, Hulk.
yo, this man's list is all over the place. Wow.
How's it all over the place? All right, let me go
No.
backward.
Don't go
Okay,
backward.
we're
Don't,
gonna
you
bring
got
both
it.
Hulk.
Oh
You
my
got the
god.
point, bro. We got it.
Oh
We
my
got
god.
it. You have a weird list. We got it.
Whoa.
And Jane Foster dropped Thor. Jane Foster and Mrs. Mia dropped that Joker all the way down.
He'll never live.
Oh, man.
Anyway, y'all can keep
Okay.
going.
What do you girls
That
got?
dropped
What do
it
you
down to
girls
6.
got?
For my list, I got Avengers number 1, number 2, Iron Man 1, 3, Thor, 4, Iron Man 2, 5, Hulk, 6, Captain America, and 7, Iron Man 3 at the bottom where it belongs.
Rinaldi's in shock.
He's so confused. Do
No,
not be shocked,
I mean,
bro. You had this
no.
coming.
How am I confused?
Okay.
She gave it a D plus, like
She gave
from
it
the
a plus.
beginning.
Oh,
That is true. They did get the lowest grade for her. Well, wow.
Trash movie.
Man, I don't know what I was watching back in 2013 because I really used to think that this could compete with Iron Man 1. But I guess watching with fresh adult eyes, I was really wrong. So here's my list now. I've got Avengers at the top spot, Iron Man 1, Thor,
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man 2, Captain
Yep.
America,
Yep.
Iron Man 3, and Incredible Hulk.
Okay. Whew. All right. For my list, I have number 1, Avengers. Number 2, Iron Man. Iron Man 1. Just be clear. Number 3, Thor.
Yep.
Number
What?
4, Captain America.
Respectable.
Number 5. Number 5, Iron Man 2. I don't know if I would watch Iron Man 2 before I'd watch Captain America. If one of them was on TV, I'll pick Captain America, but Iron Man 2 is sometimes hard to watch. Hulk, number 6. And dead last, in the gutter where it belongs, Iron Man 3, number 7.
Wait, guys, I forgot. So my list, it's incomplete. Iron Man 2 is below Hulk on my list, actually.
What?
I didn't even mention Iron Man 2. That's how bad I thought that movie was.
You don't. Wow.
We got
Yeah,
more
so you
Black
think that
Widow.
Iron Man 2
We
is
got more
worse than
Black
Iron Man
Widow
3?
in an Iron Man movie. We got more Black. I paid to see Iron Man 2, not Black Widow and Nick Fury 2. I didn't see play Coulson 2. I didn't pay to see comic book Easter eggs 2, or hey, let's set up for Avengers 2. No, Iron Man 2. I didn't get it. So yeah, it's below Hulk. Because at least we got the Hulk.
Well, why did
Even though he was dark, we couldn't see him.
Iron Man 3. Okay, but for Iron Man 3, I came to see Iron Man, not Tony Stark building Iron Man.
Because Tony Stark is Iron Man. He and the suit are one. He said that in Avengers to Cap.
So where are his suits? He has thousands of suits, and none of them fit him and can't work properly.
He is Tony Stark. The flesh and blood of Tony Stark is Iron Man because he's got a big.
Is Iron Man? I
big,
get that. So
fat
why is
brain.
Tony Stark's Iron Man working? this movie.
Because he's a super
Like
genius.
the whole movie, there's not a single Iron Man suit
Because
that works. Not
he's
a
a
single
super
one.
genius. It's in his head. It's in his brain.
He's like, the whole movie, you've been watching Iron Man the whole time because I'm Iron Man. I'm mistaken because when I see Iron Man, I see Iron Man, not just Tony Stark. You got to get both.
No, I see it differently.
No, if he is Iron Man, okay. Was he Iron Man before he made the Iron Man suit?
No.
Okay,
No,
that's my point.
but again,
He is
but
the
you
suit, and the
missed
suit
you
is
missed the
him.
entire point of Iron Man 3, and that's probably why you have it at the bottom. Because the
I
entire
no,
thing
I get. I
What's the point of
totally get
Iron Man 3?
No.
is
Look,
it is it
let me
is
give
it
you
the
the point so that
man
you.
or the
Hold on,
suit?
hold on.
That's the
Hold on,
point.
wait. No, the main
That's
point.
the
No.
question.
Let me come on. Let me communicate the point so that you know that I got the point. The point of the movie is throughout the whole movie, you did not need Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit to see Iron Man. That Tony Stark is in fact
Yes.
Iron Man.
He's
He
a
is Iron Man.
gangster.
With the, I got that. But let me ask you this question. Before he ever made the very first Mark I Iron Man suit, was he Iron Man?
No.
Okay. So he cannot be Iron Man without the Iron Man suit. He cannot.
It was established in the
Okay,
first
can
movie.
you defend
So,
Iron Man 2? Because we got very little Iron Man. We got Black Widow, we got Nick Fury, we got Coulson, we
What
got
was it? Hold on.
Vanko.
What'd you say, Fergie? What'd you say?
I said that Tony Stark as Iron Man is solidified in the first movie.
Yeah, but we got
You don't need
so
to, you don't need a
little.
third one to
We got
illustrate.
so little.
Yeah, why do you need to like
So little Iron Man 2, and you guys have no defense for that. You're just bashing Iron Man 3. Come up with the defense.
We got more Iron Man in that movie than
No, we
this
didn't.
one.
We got a
Yes,
lot
we
of Easter
did.
eggs. You criticized half the scenes where he was Iron Man. You said it was no tension. It was poorly rendered.
Those movies that I criticized. Hold on, Rinaldi. Those movies that I criticized where there was Iron Man is more Iron Man than Iron Man 3.
No.
Half the movie,
no,
well,
dude.
I'm exaggerating, but half of Iron Man 3 is him dragging around a busted Iron Man.
Yeah, but we got Tony though.
And then the rest of the suits he has is flying in and getting chopped away by
To me, Iron Man 3 is above Iron Man 2 because Black Widow isn't in it by default. Like that's the baseline.
I don't rate the movies. I don't rate these movies based on whether or not Black Widow is in the movie.
Well,
If
I
Black
like
Widow-
movies with likable characters. She's not a likable character. So if she's not in the movie, you can do the math. Do you like movies with unlikable characters?
Okay, no, that's exactly how I feel about Black Widow.
Then why did you like Avengers? She's in that movie a lot.
Why do you like Avengers?
Because she made Hawkeye better. Because Hawkeye had to deal with her, and I felt sorry for that boy. I felt sorry for that boy. And the Broham was firing at aliens blindfolded.
I mean, that's in the last episode when I talked about my gripe with Avengers. That was like one of the biggest ones is Black Widow. So, yeah. But that doesn't take away my grade. That doesn't make it a worse movie. In fact, based on your argument, Iron Man 3 should be the better movie than Avengers because Black Widow. Based on your argument,
now you're exaggerating. I made a snarky comment. That was a snarky comment, and you took it. Literal.
You have to exaggerate to make this worthwhile of a conversation. Iron Man 2 was better than Iron Man 3, not because Black Widow was or wasn't in the movie, but it was a better overall Iron Man movie.
Nah, it was so forgettable.
Bro.
Like the only thing I liked was him trying to stop himself from being poisoned.
I agree with you that this is not. I agree with you that Iron Man 2 is so forgettable, but the reason why people remember this movie is for the wrong reason.
That's true.
That's fair. I mean,
it's not the reason why anybody should remember Iron Man.
They took a risk.
Yeah, and it totally and for that reason, we're not getting an Iron Man 4.
That's Shane Black's fault. The concept was interesting. It was the fact that Shane Black had control of it.
I'm not okay. I like interesting concepts. But interesting concepts, if not delivered properly, yeah, they're taking risks, but you got to make sure you deliver on that risk in a very payout way.
Bro,
you don't deliver on that risk,
get Shane Black's phone number. Get Shane Black's phone number, and you can yell at him about this because he's the one that did all this, not me.
Well, well, guess what? Check this out. I'm not talking to Shane Black. And I am talking to you because you love this movie. You think this movie is on par, if not like
Not on
just
par.
as, if not like almost.
It's below.
It's number two
It's
to
below.
Avengers. You said. And I'm like, what in the world,
It's
man?
below.
No, yeah,
Your list is very unique.
No, my list makes sense.
like I'm
Because you're fixated on stuff that has nothing to do with Iron Man, and then you're criticizing me about it, which makes very little sense.
Because
I'm the old.
blown
I've been
away.
consistent. I said I love me some Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. You're talking about the Mandarin. You're talking about Shane Black. You're talking about CGI. I've been focused
wait.
on
Okay,
point.
wait. Time out.
Iron Man. That's
There's a
all. I love the
bias
character.
Hold on, time out. Why aren't you? So wait, why aren't you focused on Iron Man 2 when Black Widow's in it?
Because there's so much
But you're not fixated on Iron Man.
because that movie, and you said it in that podcast, it's a setup movie. It's not even a movie. It's just a commercial for the
but
Avengers. That's all it is. It's
but-
not even an actual movie. It's
Okay,
a commercial.
But you talked about being consistent, and you're not consistent with Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. You're saying the reason why you liked Iron Man 3 was because of Robert Downey Jr. We
It
got the same
focused
Robert
on
Downey
Iron Man.
Jr.
It was a
Hold on.
movie.
Okay, but check this out. You focused on Iron Man. You came to see Iron Man, just like you came to see Iron Man in Iron Man 2, but you thought it was worse because Black Widow was in it. My question for you is, why did you focus on Black Widow when that was not the point of the movie?
Because she was symbolic of the prop. Because you had Nick Fury, Coulson, like all these other elements, Easter eggs, hints towards it. Like I just want to see Tony Stark. I want to see Robert Downey Jr. I don't care
Well,
what title. I don't care what title you give him. I really don't care. If you call him Iron Man, not Iron Man, what? I just want to see Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, well, you got him in Iron Man 2. How'd that become a worse
Not
movie
enough.
than Iron Man?
Not
3?
enough.
It's the same thing.
Not enough.
Not enough Iron Man. You got barely any Iron Man in Iron Man 3.
Did I not say I Robert Downey Jr. is amazing? I want to see Robert Downey Jr.
Amazing. He is amazing. He's a great.
I feel like I'm the only one on
really
this podcast.
You also argue that he's not really the same Tony in this movie either.
He's not. But like, to be honest,
But he's so great, he can overcome that.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's hard for him to be the same Tony after Avengers, but that's a fine line.
It's also Phase 2 Tony.
It is Phase 2 Tony.
But my list is my list. Iron Man 2 is the worst MCU movie so far. Iron Man 3 second.
I think that it was okay for him to like not be in the suit, but my issue was that it kept breaking. Because I kind of liked how he had to figure out situations without his suit, and then he kind of had like the palm blasters. Like he just did different innovative things as like an emergency. Like, okay, if I don't have the suit, like at least he is kind of thinking that way. But yeah, it's just like, to Rob's point, like, why were they so fragile? Like, you've been working on this. And maybe you could argue, all right, mental state, or he hasn't slept in 72 hours, but like, still.
Yeah.
He had some models that were on point. Like, I mean, Iron Patriot's still kicking, and that was what it is. Like, so what, I don't know.
Again, he didn't destroy that one because he needed it to kidnap the president.
No. What I'm
plan.
saying is the Iron Patriot's kicking, right? And that was in Tony Stark's basement at one point. So he can make really sturdy like machinery. So what was happening here? Like it just kind of, I don't know.
PTSD. That's what happened. Oh, and Shane Black. And Shane Black too. He kind of messed up.
Yeah, I think it boils down to his mental state again, because at the end of the movie, he explodes all his suits. He finally gets his heart surgery or whatever surgery it is, and he's better in the other Avenger movies and whatever other movies he's in. Like, he's just a bit more confident.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was the concept. I mean, again, the execution was off because I didn't like that ending. It would have been way better if he just blew him up with Mark 42, The Prodigal Son Returns, and then boom, we cut to him on the cliff, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't need this arc reactor anymore. I'm confident now." And then he and Pepper kind of ride off, and then boom, we get no dialogue, and we cut the credits.
So let me ask you this question.
Boom, right there.
Let me ask you this question, Ronaldo. So you're saying that with that one small change, this movie could potentially be better if not just as good as Avengers?
No, there's other little parts that could have been cleaned up too, but they're like nitpicks, but little like the chick with
So what will it
that
take
made the
for this
plants,
movie?
like she could have been out of this movie. That's another
Yeah,
fix.
yeah, I didn't like that. I
She
didn't
should have
feel
just
that.
been in the flashback. That's it. We just
Yeah,
okay. She's the
I
one
thought Maya was
that
kind
helped
of useless.
Killian, and yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah.
So then what is the one biggest change that you would make to this movie to make it just as good as Avengers? Because I still think having a second to Avengers is like blowing my mind. So what would it make it better? What yeah, what would you change or what would you adjust? What big thing that you would adjust to make it as good as Avengers?
I think I would recast Killian
Hmm.
with Jake Gyllenhaal
Oh man.
Interesting.
and make Killian more subtle. So he's doing everything the same, but it's Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal, and he's doing it way more. He's not. He doesn't have like buck teeth and glasses thicker than Steve Urkel. Like he's a nerdy looking dude that's like, hey Tony, I just wanted to meet
Mhm.
you. Like it's subtle. It's little cues. Not, hey
Hmm.
Tony, I've been big fan of your work. Like no, no. So the biggest thing,
Yo. Um,
the biggest thing is yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, and I know he's Mysterio, but
yeah.
and if we had a time machine, we would have said Marvel, get this man way sooner. Get this
Mhm.
man way sooner. Don't wait till Spider-Man. Get him for Iron Man. Number two, have it. Okay, this is a little bit of a retread, but it could be a full circle thing. Have Killian kind of like Stain say, "I hired you guys to mess with Tony. You fail. I'm gonna kill you, Jokers." That's how you do the flip. And kind of similar to Iron Man 1, where he went to that terrorist camp and was like, man, you jokers are like messing up. I gotta do this
Hmm.
myself. That's how you do it. And
Hmm.
have him just be a terrorist, not an actor that's hanging out with strippers. That was not a good idea. That's just pouring salt on Rob's wound. I feel sorry for you. I feel bad for you, man. I really do. Because that was a little extra. Like,
I truly hate this.
so yeah, don't do all that. Do the flip where he is a terrorist, but Killian's like, I needed you to do X and you failed me, so I'm just gonna kill you. And it has to be in a threatening way. And then boom, that
Hmm.
fixes like 90% of the issues to me.
Hmm. Elise, were
And
you
90%.
gonna
Yeah.
say
clean
something?
up the CGI. Clean up the CGI in the suits. Yeah, clean that up because that
Mm.
was a little messy. Clean that stuff up, and then boom. Oh, and get rid of the scientist chick, and then the kid
Anything
should
else?
be the
Yeah.
kid should be
Anything
in
else?
one
Because you're
scene.
adding quite a bit of
The kid the
stuff.
kid the
More
kid
than my stuff.
the kid should be in one scene. It should have just been one scene, not 20 minutes. Okay, good. We good now.
When he was talking about Killian in the quote unquote buck teeth or whatever, I'm just like kind of like, okay, wait a minute. If you're showing up to a conference, right? Like, you know, you gotta know, all right, if I want someone here to really invest in me, if I want to sell, like I've got to put my best foot forward in terms of
Mhm.
appearance. Like, cause that's the first part of your presentation. Before you even start talking, you kind of got to look decent. And I understand, okay, maybe he,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe he didn't have as much money or maybe he couldn't like whatever, but even still, that's the sort of prep that you need to have. Even if you had a cane, you could still look fresh with your cane and walk by and say, "Hey, Mr.
Right.
Stark,"
Yep.
or "Hey, Miss Dr. Hanson, like, I viewed your work. I have an idea. Like, can we sit down and talk? Like, something." But it was just kind of like he was just looking
Mhm.
dusty and raggedy. Didn't comb his hair. Like, you can't do that. You can't.
Nah,
Mhm.
nah. That was a
I agree with
big
you
that
Yeah,
was
he
a
100%.
big
should not have
mistake.
busted up
Yeah.
the hair like that.
Again, these
Yeah.
flaws prevented it from getting an A for me. So that's just for
Yeah,
context. That's
Wow.
why it didn't get an A because of
yeah, like
these issues.
yes.
These issues and so much more prevented it from getting a C for me.
Yeah, well, we know how you felt.
Yeah.
Most of the people listening to this are going to be confused by me, so I have to provide extra context because I'm probably
Nah,
going to get hate
see,
mail. I'm probably
context
going
is
to get hate
great.
mail.
They're still
People are going to love
yeah.
you. People are going to give you like hearts and thank you. e-cards or virtual high
Not Ronaldo.
fives. That's what you're gonna get, Rob. I'm gonna
I
get.
hate this movie. I wish this movie did not exist.
I
Just
agree.
like
Wait,
out.
wait.
Like
Okay, so if dude that directed the first Iron Man, you don't think he could have made this better, or
he would
my
have killed it.
improvements, or my improve Jake Gyllenhaal as Killian? Do you don't think that would have worked?
It
And then
would have
just
worked,
have
but
and then just
he
have him
didn't do
go,
it.
and then just have. But I'm saying, because you're saying
Sorry.
this won't exist. This doesn't exist.
I'm saying if this was
As
the
if
movie
there's
that we
no way
got
it could be
today,
better.
no. It could. So what I'm saying is, yes, there's so many things that we could do to make this movie better.
Only
Since
four
this is the
things.
movie
Only
we
four
got,
things. Just four.
no, you said only four things.
Yeah.
No, you just added to my 10, 15 things.
No, we
But
don't
what
need
I'm
the
saying
10,
is,
15 things.
no, but I'm only talking about one or two things. But what I'm trying to say is, since this is the movie that we got, I'd prefer that this movie did not exist.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Like, you know,
I'm just
that's my
bugged out. Iron Man 2 is better.
It
You guys had a lot of critical things to say about that movie.
Yeah, I had a lot of critical things, but
it is
it's not as bad as this movie. Not as bad as
Iron
this
Man 2
movie.
is bad.
Oh, I know it's bad, but it's not as bad as this movie.
Yeah. The only thing I liked in Iron
Uh,
Man 2 were the scenes with Tony, him trying to figure out how to not get poisoned, and then him fighting with Rhodey. Like, literally, what I love about Iron Man is Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. That's what works, even in the worst productions involving him. Like when he's on screen, it works. Like you guys love that fight with him and Tony. You guys love the thing with his dad trying to figure out the poison. That was what we all universally liked. At least that
yeah.
pocket.
It wasn't it. It wasn't it for me, and
Enough of me, dog.
I fangirl over Iron Man like action scenes, and I had nothing in here.
I don't.
Usually, when
I
Iron
don't.
Man gets going, I'm like,
I
yeah,
don't.
and it always gets me hype. I didn't have that with this.
So the Rhodey
yeah.
fight did nothing for you.
Nothing.
They were fighting, and he was drunk. And
Pretty
then
Iron Man or Rhodey Man?
yeah,
It's
I don't know,
Iron Man
man.
or Running Man.
I feel like I'm the only real Iron Man fan.
Wow.
In my opinion, I don't know. That's what it feels like.
Hold on. Hold on. Now he just came
Okay.
to
That's what it
us.
feels
No, no,
like.
no, 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 no,
That's what it feels
no,
like.
Okay. Ronaldo,
That's
stay
what it
right there. I
feels
know where
like.
you live. I'll be there real
That's what it
soon.
feels
I'm
like,
not
man. It
saying I'm
really
not an Iron Man
does.
fan. I love to. Are you
Because
kidding?
half this podcast is the villain. It's about the
So
villain.
wait,
Getting
so
upset
wait,
about the
time out.
villain.
Now, okay, because now we're getting into a whole new
Yo, we need a
avenue in this
part two.
podcast. So
This
wait a
episode.
sec. So
Like,
how do you
Right.
part two to this? Because man, this is causing some divisions. So are you saying that you feel like you're the only real Iron Man fan because of the movies, or that you're reflecting the movies based on the comic books and you like Iron Man from the comic books? Is it?
I
Help
don't
me out.
like Iron Man from the comic books.
Okay, so based
My
off of
only
that, we
point
have
was
true diehard Iron Man fans that say they're Iron Man fans, and they flat out do not like Iron Man 3.
yeah,
What do you say to
okay,
them?
I'll rephrase it because I was just frustrated and speaking out of turn. I like Robert Downey Jr. so much that I can watch him in as Iron Man, portraying Iron Man and Tony Stark, both people, not just Iron Man, Tony Stark too. So much I could watch him in anything as that character, anything,
okay,
anything.
Yeah.
Even if it was him play acting in his house, because that's just how much I like him. And those were the only parts of Iron Man 2 I liked, was just the parts that focused on him.
okay, all right, Rinaldi, listen. So the thing is that RDJ
Yeah.
and his portrayal, whether he's just being Tony Stark or Iron Man, that's not the problem with this movie. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm fine watching him all day, every day. But he's not the issue with the movie. It's the other things. It's the execution, those other elements, the change of director, and all just all that stuff is why I'm like, eh. But whenever he was on screen, whenever he delivered his lines, that I was totally fine with it. It was just, yeah, just other elements that just didn't come together to make this better than the other Iron Man films as you think. Yeah. So, but I am an Iron Man fan.
Mhm.
Like I said, I was agreeing with you when you were like, "Oh yeah, you liked him being Tony Stark and that was cool." Like I'm cool with that. Again, like him being out of the suit or in the suit, I have joy. But certain things of this movie did not spark joy, and therefore, when you just put it all together, I give my C plus, which arguably I might think I go between C and C plus because of just the romance stuff and Pepper slapping Killian after he says, "I am the Mandarin." I kind of felt like that was corny. I'm like,
Yeah,
dang, she just had to have
I'm with
power.
you guys on that too.
It was
I'm with you
corny.
guys on that
Certain things
level.
was corny.
I'm with you guys. I'm with you guys on that little part.
Yeah, so it was just little things like that, just issues within the movie, not Robert Downey Jr., not Iron
Yeah.
Man, not Tony. Like that was all fine. So I am, might I say, an Iron Man fan. All right, trying to start war in here. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We're the
I
marvelous
just
What in the
I
friends.
just got
world?
How are we the
frustrated
marvelous
because
Lord.
I
friends?
have I don't know. I just got
Mm.
frustrated, so I was in my emotions. This movie is controversial.
No,
It's a
listen.
Yeah,
controversial film.
Every issue. I mean, the things that I mentioned about Iron Man being in the suit and carrying around the suit, I just like to see more Iron Man and Tony Stark in the suit. I truly do not care about all of that stuff. My real issue is the Mandarin switch and the execution of that throughout from there and the rest of the movie. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., perfect. You can't cast anybody better than him. Like that's not at all
right. He
my
always
yeah, not at all my issue with any of his movies. But this movie did a horrible job, not because of Robert Downey Jr. Not at all because of him. It was everything else. This movie
right.
did not need to exist if this is the route that they're
Yep.
going to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
On top of that, we can't really hear you. It's the signal. Oh, oh, wait, hold up.
We gotta get rid of the echo.
He's on. Yeah, he's on. But okay. So mute your messenger, please. Um, I forget. I was gonna say something. Crap! I lost it again. What the heck?
Yeah, that
Um,
basically that
it was
everything
about
else was
Iron
the
Man.
problem and not Tony at or slash
Oh, that's it.
RDJ and his portrayal.
Um, here's how I also feel like this movie didn't need to exist. Is that in the end, um, it's not spelled out exactly for us, but he throws the arc reactor into the ocean, and he goes, "I am Iron Man." And then when people, when they watch this movie for the first time, without any context, without any of that other stuff, whatever, they're led to believe, especially since he blew up all his Iron Man suits, is he Iron Man again? Is he going to get the suits back? When this movie came out, a lot of people were asking that. I felt like it left people in confusion, and then to have him return in the next movie that he's in, full on Iron Man, it doesn't build off of Iron Man 3.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the whole Mandarin
Yep.
thing distracted everybody. So that's just my final word on it. The Mandarin thing kind of because all the metaphorical
Yeah.
character development the focus was taken away
Yeah.
from that because of how they executed the Mandarin thing. So Well, when we do future movies, I guess I'll have to be like, hey, remember that moment in Iron Man 3? Well, this came up in this future movie.
Okay.
I guess I gotta do
Okay.
that. I gotta be that guy. Maybe I'll be
Bring it,
hated.
bro.
Bring it.
No, you
Come
brought up
on,
that
bring
movie
it.
again. You brought it up again. But I'm like, but it's
Okay. But
Tony
like I'm
Stark's
telling you,
journey.
there's no
It's his
reason why this
character development.
movie
It's
needed to
his
exist. I'm
Yeah,
telling
I
you.
just think I
building
don't
of
think it
his
did Tony
identity.
justice. I just think the movie needs to be scrapped or just use Happy as the director and change some things because it
Yeah.
was just a mess.
Yep.
No, I'm with you on it could be better because again I gave it a B plus, not A plus. And you guys asked me how it could be better than Avengers. So my answers were on how it could have been better. Jake Gyllenhaal could have elevated it, in my opinion,
Yeah.
above Avengers because he's a great actor. But I think Tony's journey is always going to be him dealing with PTSD and being in the cave. And the movie does address it. Maybe it could have been better. Maybe there could have been better elements, and maybe the CGI could have been better. But at the end of the day, he's always going to think about, am I
Right.
more than just a man? Because he's surrounded by gods, literally gods. So that's just going to keep coming up as we move forward, constantly. Even though this movie had
Well,
issues
we're
you
gonna
guys
go back and
didn't
forth
like,
about this
or
movie.
things you didn't like. So
And it's fun dialogue back and forth, what we like, what we didn't like, more of what we didn't
yeah,
like.
Hmm.
But for those of us who are listening and having fun with this dialogue, whether you agree or disagree, let
yeah,
us know what you thought about Iron Man 3 and does it hold up to the rest of the Iron Man movies? Where does it fall in your ranking? Would you put it dead last? Would you put it second to Avengers? Where would you put it? But thank you guys for listening. What's the next movie that we're going to review in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Thor.
yeah. Thor: The Dark World.
Tune in on that. It's going to be a fun time, very interesting. And thank you guys again for tuning in. That's Marvelous Friends. Catch you later.